All right, guys, welcome to Press X Podcast, episode 133. I want to take a moment to thank everybody for being here, whether you're here live, whether you're watching later on when it's, after the fact. Appreciate your support. Couldn't do what I do here with the podcast without you. Always very cool to see so many people. I say it every week, but it's still always cool to see so many people just kind of hanging out, chilling in the chat, waiting for me to go live so we can talk PlayStation, talk games. Blue Streak says, nice stash. Yeah, beard's growing back, but I just want to say, because I don't know, YouTube's been making a lot of changes lately. I'm sure pretty much everybody who uses who uses YouTube has noticed this, and it happened again. Fresh haircut, and for some reason, MBG looks thinner. That's what happens, dude. I'm telling you, every time I trim the beard or shave it down, it gives me that look of looking thinner in the face. Seeing all the reactions to the mustache, old Snake vibes, dude. Yeah, definitely. Luckily, not hair's not completely white yet. Although I actually did discover my first pure white, not even gray, just straight up white mustache hair. And I pulled it out because it just it's just one. It looks weird. If it was like a couple, be like, all right, I'll keep them. But it was just one. So, Matt York says it actually looks good on you. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. JV says, how you doing, MBG? What's good, my brother? I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Just, grinding it out every day. Trying to enjoy each day as much as I can. And, just living life, man. So, all right. Irfin says Metallica shirt, nice. Matt says half of my facial hair is white now at 40. Looks deadly. I think that's what'll happen to me too. I do have white beard hairs as well down here that are coming in more and more each month seemingly. But yeah, I just wanted to, before diving into some of the topics, you guys are going to have to look out for... Yeah, hold on. I forgot to do that again. Everybody look away from the chat momentarily. I put it to subscribers only. Jesus, man. Put it on slow mode too. Just a second. I meant to do this stuff before I went live, so apologies for that. Yeah, people trying to come into the chat to joke's on you, man. Joke's on you. I've already had Ragnarok spoiled for me. Obviously, I don't want that stuff here. But yeah, most of Ragnarok, unfortunately, has been spoiled for me. But I talked about this last week, and I made it clear that it is what it is, And for some reason, that is what annoys me the most, is changing it over took away my super chats. So really quick, before I dive into these super chats, I just want to say really quickly that some of you may have noticed that my podcast didn't go up at the normal time it goes up, which is at 11 a.m., giving you an hour to kind of file in. The reason for that was because something happened with YouTube. They updated their live stream deck, or the way you set up live streams, and I thought I was doing it right, and I didn't. And so 20 minutes later, after I put it live, I noticed literally 0 people were there waiting. So I wasn't sure what was going on, but I figured it out, and that's why it came up a little bit late. But I figured I would just let everybody know, because I did see some people thinking that it meant I wasn't going to be doing the podcast today. But I have a $10 super chat from New Soul 9, and he says, MBG, did you hear Phil is planning to raise prices just like Sony, yet people want to be in denial. Xbox doesn't want your money. You're laughing about that, saying, I find this normal. Well, yeah, of course, there were basically two types of reactions when Sony announced the price hike for the PS5. People losing their minds, basically saying that Sony's the worst company ever and Jim Ryan needs to be fired immediately, and Sony is just absolutely the most anti-consumer. And then you had reactions on the other side of people basically explaining like why they're doing this, why it's totally anticipated, why it makes sense. And, you know, it's a business move first and foremost. Sony's not doing this to to slap consumers in the face. They're doing it to make sure that they can run their business the way it needs to be run, and, you know, for growth in the future. And, you know, it was a big deal when it happened. But, you know, a lot of Xbox people were very quick to be like, Microsoft would never do such a thing. And then, you know, Phil Spencer comes out and is like, yeah, we might have to do that, you know, whether it be... I did see that they did raise the price of the Xbox in India, but Phil did warn that, you know, more price raises could come for Game Pass, for other things. To me, it's not surprising at all. Like, if anybody's been paying any attention to what's going on with the world and, you know, all of the different economies and inflation and the whole 9 yards, you'll know that this stuff is coming. You know, price increases are coming. You're not going to see prices go down, and most prices are not going to stay the same. Unfortunately, it's not going to be forever, of course, but that's where we are right now. And, you know, Microsoft, while some people may want to not believe this, they are a corporate entity. They are a business, and their number one goal is to not just make money, but to try to make profits, and at the very least, to try to avoid any type of loss that could add up quickly. So thank you for that, New Soul 9. We have PlayStation Pete with the $10. Thank you, man, saying, what is your favorite PS5 game, and which game do you want to win Game of the Year, and do you think PSVR2 will succeed? To answer your first question, my favorite PS5 game, I feel like right now it's a tie between Returnal and Demon Souls. I feel like Demon Souls might win out because that just playing that at launch was such an awesome experience, and like that'll be like a core memory with PlayStation for me forever. Just like at launch, streaming Demon Souls, seeing how good that game looked, it just blew my mind. But Returnal was also a fantastic game as well. And obviously I've enjoyed pretty much every major PS5 game, but it would not surprise me at all if after I complete God of War Ragnarok, that ends up being, my favorite game I played on PS5 thus far. What game do I want to win Game of the Year? Obviously, I can't say God of War because I haven't played it, but just looking at how well it's reviewing, and we're going to dive deep into that as a main topic, looking at how well it's doing, I want to see it. I'm going to be honest. I want to see God of War win Game of the Year just to see how people react if it actually ends up beating Elden Ring. Like, to me, that would be like the reactions from people and seeing how the internet would react to that would be just more entertaining, obviously, than seeing God of War actually win. Because it would just be such an upset, I think, in the minds of so many people, just like it was when God of War 2018 won over Red Dead Redemption 2. And do I think PSVR 2 will succeed? We're going to talk about that. So I don't want to spoil it too early. Axis Hawk, a member for 6 months, saying, not going to lie, I was quite disappointed that there wasn't any podcast today when I came here an hour ago. Seeing the notification just hit different. Well, I'm really happy to hear that, man. Yeah, I'm sure some people were not feeling too good because they thought, you know, I wasn't going to be hosting a podcast today. So, let me see. You should, bro. You need to record your reaction to God of War. I think I'm going to be streaming God of War. I don't know if I'm going to be streaming the entirety of the game. I don't know if I'm going to be doing that or not. But I will be streaming on Wednesday, probably Wednesday evening, or at least for me, Eastern time here, in the evening. And I think it'll be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. Axis Hawk says, what's up with people spoiling the game this bad? It's just because people don't have anything better to do. You know, it's nothing new. They're just people where they're like, look, I know, like, this is how their mind works. They know that there are people who are really looking forward to this game. They know how important the story is, the plot, and they know how long people have been waiting for it, you know, years. And they just literally want to, you know, upset people. You know, they just don't have anything better to do. I see somebody saying the God of War IGN Korea reviewer posted a tweet where people are harassing him badly. It's getting bad. I did see a little bit of that. I did see that IGN Korea review of God of War Ragnarok. And for those who were not in the loop, the reviewer for IGN Korea gave it a 6 out of 10. And, you know, this didn't sit too well with a lot of people. You know, to a degree, it's understandable why people would be very surprised by that. And it's turning into one of these things, you know, it's turning into one of these things where people are taking it too far. And I don't know what is wrong with people, you know, like, I don't know why it's so hard for people to just, you know, give their opinion, which is, I think that seems like a pretty terrible review, or it's not a review that makes much sense to me, or I'm not really, you know, I don't really believe what this reviewer is saying. This reviewer seems like they're way out of left field compared to everybody else, and just leave it for what it is and then just move on from it. You know, people are turning it into a big thing. I have a difficult time believing that the reviewer did not see this coming, you know, and I'm going to tell you right now. So I'm going to read the summary of IGN Korea's review, and I'm only doing this because you brought it up. I actually wasn't really planning on talking about this, but I do have a tweet here that I put out. And I figure I'll just get this out of the way now before we talk about the incredible reviews that God of War Ragnarok is getting. But IGN Korea, they say the game's core design has not moved an inch since the prequel, and the story seems to be lacking in creativity in comparison. Unlike the well-coordinated experience as a whole like last time, everything in Ragnarok seems to act like soulless puppets attached to a series of strings. Although the reskinned aspect of a working formula seems to be the safest bet, if we were to find any sort of effort of evolution since the prior title, it wouldn't feel as lackluster from a highly anticipated title to make its grand entrance. Now, pay close attention to this final sentence I'm about to read, because to me, this is the one where it's like, I'm shocked that this even counts as a quote-unquote professional review. This one feels rather like a quickly brewed DLC of the previous title instead. So that was what the IGN Korea reviewer said. And, you know, my response to it when I first came across it was to tweet out the image or the text that I just read to you with a clown emoji. Because I think it's ridiculous. I think it's laughable. I think it's ridiculous. Not the 6 out of 10, mind you. I think it's totally fine if a reviewer wants to give a game a 6 out of 10. This reviewer could have given this game a 4 out of 10, a 3 out of 10, and I would be like, whatever, dude, that's your opinion. The thing that got me, though, is when he says at the end, this one feels rather like a quickly brewed DLC of the previous title instead. To me, this is a fucking disgrace, because that is the single most, I think, offensive thing that a so-called professional reviewer could say about a game like this, where you can, like, everything he said up until that point, you know, the game's design to him feels like it didn't move much. He says it doesn't feel like it's a well-coordinated experience. I don't understand this idea of everyone and everything in Ragnarok acts like a soulless puppet attached to a series of strings. Like, I don't even know what the hell that's supposed to mean, but it's like, fine, like, this is your opinion. But when you basically decide that you're going to take this game that's been in development for you know, over 4 years at this point, and you decide, you know what, I'm going to reduce this studio's work down to the rhetoric that is being peddled and pushed by toxic internet fanboys. That's what I'm going to reduce it down to. It feels like a quickly brewed DLC. Even if you want to say it feels like DLC, you could at least, at the very minimum, acknowledge that it's some pretty massive DLC. To me, that is what made this review a complete joke. And I'm not saying that anybody should be harassing this reviewer. Like, who cares? You know, like, leave the dude alone. He put it out there. It's, you know, if you want to give your take on his review or your thoughts on it, go ahead. But, you know, there's no need to be disrespectful. But to me, I put a clown emoji because that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing somebody kind of, you know, put on the makeup, put on the wig, and try to create some type of ridiculous entertainment. And it seems to have worked here because that, you know, like I'm sorry. Like, how out of touch do you have to be? How out of touch do you have to be to review what is clearly one of the biggest games of this year, but probably of the generation, and end your review by saying it's just quickly brewed DLC? Like, you got to be a fool. Just to be blunt, you have to be a fool. Either that or you have to be a troll. So, you know, to me, this is just, you know, this is a review that you're going to see these toxic people cling on to. And they are. I've actually seen people coming out here to defend this review as well as the reviewer. And to me, this whole thing is a joke. Like, this whole thing has to be a joke, right? Because it's like, I guess what I'm going to say at this point is I'm not planning to give this any more attention than it deserves. In fact, I've already given it more attention than it deserves. And I'm not, like, I really don't care at the end of the day. You know, like, somebody showed that review to me and I was like, oh, here we go. You know, oh boy, here we go. Of course, a 6 out of 10 review for Ragnarok. But then when I read that last part, I'm like, holy shit, dude. Like, you went there, bro. You really went there. You called this game a quickly developed DLC. All right. All right. It is what it is, man. You know, like, there, in my opinion, it's pretty obvious why this game is sitting at a 94 on Metacritic. And that's because I think everybody can universally agree, everybody who's played it, it's kind of obvious that the game is amazing, that the game lives up to the expectation. And, you know, the thing is, I'm positive, actually, that there are flaws with God of War Ragnarok. There's flaws within every game, no matter how good of a game it is. Trophy Achievement Hunter says reviews are supposed to be honest, not nice. Well, that's true. And that's true. And at the end of the day, like, him calling the game DLC, I mean, look, it's his opinion. He's allowed to. I'm not saying he's not allowed to have that opinion. I want to make that clear. Like, I'm not saying you can't say that about Ragnarok. You can't give this review. No, nothing like. He can do whatever the hell he wants. He could give it a 1 out of 10 and say this game is trash, and that could be his review. He's allowed to do that. He's entitled to his opinion. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, you know, that people some people don't have a right to be a little bit maybe upset or offended to a degree. Maybe not like a random player, you know, like, yeah, it seems a bit ridiculous to me to whittle it down to DLC, but it's like, I don't know, man. It just seems straight up disrespectful to the developers who you know, probably had to a degree had to crunch on this game, you know, to just basically say, yeah, I'm sure it's just DLC. It's just you guys made DLC. But the reality is, and this is where I'm going to end it for this specific review, the reality is this is irrelevant. this is completely irrelevant. This review doesn't mean jack shit to literally anybody. Like, at the end of the day, people have already made their minds up. You're either for God of War Ragnarok or you're against God of War Ragnarok, because you're just not interested in it, or for some reason you just have, I don't know, you just have some kind of a problem with it for one reason or another. But you've already made your decision. You're either going to play it, you've decided, you're excited for it, and you're rooting for it to a degree, or you're not, and you're just either indifferent to it, or for some reason you're just trying to bring it down. And so this review was never going to make a difference to anybody. It's just that it's an outlier. You know, it's an outlier. Saying, MBG, have you played Ragnarok then? No, I have not played Ragnarok yet. Again, like, I'm not sitting here saying that his review is wrong. A review can't be wrong. It is an opinion. It's all subjective. What I'm saying is that it's ridiculous. There's a difference. All right? So, to me, the reason why some people are maybe melting down so much over something like this is because of how much of an outlier it is, where it's like you see so many 10 out of 10s, so many high scores, such a high score on Metacritic, and there's always just going to be at least one. There's always going to be one, whether it's for Xbox, whether it's for PlayStation, or any other game. There's always going to be one where there's just somehow that one person who was never going to like the game, got a review code, and was allowed to put out a quote-unquote professional review of the game. And that's what we're seeing. Josh, you're saying, I'm seeing literal meltdowns from fanboys about Ragnarok scores, LOL. Same people trying to clown the game for years. Do these people realize how they look? Maybe some do. I think some people realize, and they just don't care, and they maybe lean into it. They like the attention. Other people just simply don't realize, and you have to kind of ask yourself what's worse. To me, it's the person that realizes it and still chooses to do it anyway. I'm not saying, someone who's completely ignorant or unaware of it is completely innocent. They're not, but it's not as bad as, understanding what you're doing and still continuing to do it. But yeah, I've been seeing some meltdowns as well, and it's just like, okay, it's guys, it's getting a bit too much here. Either just decide if you like it, if you don't like it. There's no need to lose your mind over it. It's not that serious. Ford8484 says, since when did people expect sequels to be full-on reboots of gameplay? Sequel have always been an evolution of the first game going back decades. For some, that's the thing is dude, with every video game sequel, there's always at least one person, but maybe a very small percentage of people that actually, for some reason, I don't know why, they do expect that. And it doesn't make much sense to me, honestly, only because it's there are going to need to be some type of change. So there's going to need to be some type of change or multiple changes in a video game sequel, in any type of sequel. But yeah, that to me, that's always weird, where it's to expect a full reboot with a direct sequel, that's not really how it goes. And there's good reason for that. It's literally as simple as, if it's not broken, don't fix it. That's all it is, and that's why I never really cared that some of the things, let's face it, a lot of what we're seeing from Ragnarok looks very similar to God of War 2018. And to me, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I liked God of War 2018. It's one of my favorite games of all time. And the reason why I'm so personally excited for Ragnarok, and why I actually get so excited at these reviews, is because the reviews seem to confirm to me that this game may end up being exactly what I hoped it would be, which is, I want more of God of War 2018, but I want it to be better in any possible way that it can be. I don't want a complete overhaul of the combat. I want a refining of the combat. I want to see an evolution of the combat, but not necessarily in a completely from the ground up way. And everything I'm seeing and everything I'm hearing, that's exactly what it is. Same thing with the story, right? I fully anticipate that a lot of the interactions between Kratos and Atreus may feel reminiscent of what we saw to a degree, right? Like it just doesn't, I don't know, man. I don't know what people expect at the end of the day. And that's, I think, just what confuses me personally is, there is seemingly some outcry, with every video game sequel. Like, it's not just PlayStation, it's with all games where like there's just always some outcry where it's like, I think it's safe to say, now I haven't played Ragnarok, but looking at the reviews, reading the reviews, I think it's safe to say that Santa Monica Studio did pretty much everything they possibly could with this game to push it as far as they could go without, again, completely going off the rails. So it's like, what was one of the weak spots of Ragnarok or God of War 2018? And I think that's exactly what they went into. They identified weak points of God of War 2018 and thought, okay, we don't need to focus too much on the strengths because they're already there. Let's now target the weak points, boss battles, stuff like that, more enemy diversity, making sure there's some more verticality to the combat, making sure there's some more brutality to the combat, a little bit more nuance, stuff like that. Like, to me, this is what Ragnarok should be. To me, anyway. Obviously, like, if they really wanted to, if Santa Monica really wanted to, they could have they could have rebooted the game again. It wouldn't have made any sense, right? And most people would have been like, that's the dumbest thing you could have done, in their opinion. But, this is where it's like, I don't know. I'm extremely happy to see that God of War Ragnarok is reviewing so well. Simply, as I said, because it confirms to me that, wow, okay, this game seems like it's going to be everything I hoped it would be and everything I wanted it to be. And that's all I can ask for. That's not to say that if Ragnarok got like an 84 on Metacritic, I wouldn't sit there and think to myself like, oh, geez, I don't know, man. This game's not going to live up. No, I wouldn't think that. I would just think like that's very surprising, only because it just, a game like God of War Ragnarok has, it has so much on its shoulders, truly. Like, and this is where I like want to give a lot of credit to Santa Monica Studio, and not just Santa Monica Studio. I want to give a lot of credit to PlayStation Studios. Truly, people call me like a bootlicker and whatnot. It's like, okay, you can call me whatever you want. I'm going to give credit where it's due. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give credit where it's due for PlayStation. And the credit here is, Herman Hulst put out a tweet congratulating Santa Monica Studio on the success of Ragnarok. And I replied to Herman Hulst, and I simply said, this right here is what gives me continued confidence in PlayStation Studios' leadership, is the fact that the expectation is so high, the bar is set so high. To fail, to falter, to misstep, to make a mistake is so easy when the pressure's this high. And yet, here we are at the end of 2022, pretty much 2 years into the PS5's life cycle, coming off of what would argue, what some would call the best generation of AAA games from Sony ever with the PS4, that continuing to be consistent in quality throughout the first 2 years of the PS5's life cycle, and it's still here. They're still doing it. And that's why I titled this podcast, Sony Continues to Crush It, because they are. And it's not just the reviews, right? Like, I'm not saying, again, that it's just the fact that God of War got a 94 on Metacritic. It's not that. It's the fact that what this indicates, it's what it tells you. What it tells you is that the quality is still there. That is what it tells you. It tells you that if you're somebody who's interested in this game and you're going to pay $70 for it, you're going to get your money's worth. You're going to get one of the highest quality video games made probably ever. You know, and to me, like, that's what this is all about. That's what it's always been about. This is why I play on PlayStation. God of War Ragnarok is why I play on PlayStation. Earlier this year, games like Horizon Forbidden West dropping is why I play on PlayStation. Don't get me wrong, I play a lot of third-party games as well, right? But this is why I play on PlayStation. Sony is able to consistently deliver this type of quality and these type of single-player experiences. And I know that Sony has a lot of different things in the works coming down the pipeline, live service games, multiplayer games, and whatnot. But when they say, look, half of our investment is going, like, and by half, it's literally more than what they've already been doing, just to make that clear. Single-player games, what we do best. This is why I do believe. This is why I know... I tell everybody, like, we always have to take what video game executives say with a grain of salt, because what they say changes all the time. And that still remains true. But this is also why I say right now that the proof is in the pudding. And we're literally getting the pudding this Wednesday. And everybody who's tried the pudding so far, except for IGN Korea, is pretty much saying, like, yeah, this is it. This is it. And, you know, I just have to reiterate that this is what it's all about. This is what it's always been about. And at a time like this, I will say you can truly see people's colors come out, their true colors come out at times like this, because the amount of stuff that people have sent me showing, like, you know, I guess people on maybe Twitter and maybe some people on YouTube who are, you know, considered Xbox fans and whatnot. And it's like they're literally spending all of their time and energy doing everything they can to try to either bring down God of War Ragnarok, but because God of War Ragnarok is so strong, I think they realize that you can't bring God of War Ragnarok down. This is like, it's like Elden Ring, right? It's like one of these games where it's like, you can't talk shit on this game. You know, like the love and the praise for it's so universal, you really can't talk bad about it. So what they do is they try to go for the fan base next. And that's what I'm seeing. You know, I'm just seeing a lot of people, not a lot, but a small but vocal group of people that it's like, you know, you guys who are doing this claim to care so much about, you know, this or that, this platform and these games and these studios, and yet you're so focused in on the opposite of that. It makes no sense. Maybe it's time to just admit that you either A, are a closet PlayStation fan, or B, you just are a fan of bashing PlayStation. You know what I mean? And I've been seeing a lot of that. I've been seeing a lot of that in you know, the past couple weeks. It's normal, it's to be expected, but it's hard not to call it out. But you know, my recommendation to people who are doing that, it's like, dude, come on. You know, like don't try to ruin it for people. Let people enjoy what they want to enjoy. And that's okay. Like if you have an opinion, give your opinion, but you know, to go on and on and on about it, basically saying the same thing and that same thing is, you know, it's very evident that you're just trying to hurt the fan base or the game itself. And it's like, just go enjoy what you enjoy. You know, I will never, believe me, I'm somebody who's been very critical about many things in the past. And at some point it dawned on me, and I hope it dawns on other people as well, that it's like, why am I spending this much time and energy on something that I don't care about? Because it's, at the end of the day, you got to look yourself in the mirror and realize, A, you either do care about it, or B, you don't. So which is it? So, Josh, you're saying, I knew this was going to be dynamic 4K/120, but I did not realize it was going to have that good of fidelity on the 120 VRR mode, looking like max PC. Absolutely, dude. I covered the Digital Foundry analysis, and I think that, you know, it is really impressive what Santa Monica was able to achieve on the PS5, because that surprised me as well. The 4K or the 120 high frame rate mode, it sits at around 90 FPS, between 80 and 90 FPS pretty much most of the time. But if I'm not mistaken, it's at like 1440p. And I think like that's really, really good. Like that's actually incredible for a game on PS5. And you know, I think we're really beginning to see, if anything, we're beginning to see what the PS5 can continue to do for PS4 games, or games that were built with the PS4 in mind. A question that Digital Foundry raised with their analysis that, I think is a good question, and I'm also wondering about is, what exactly could Santa Monica achieve if they decide to make a game that's just for PS5 and isn't for PS4? And I can't help but wonder that as well. I mean, it does make, at this point in time, it actually makes complete sense why Ragnarok is a PS4 game, is releasing on PS4. And what we do know is that whatever we get next from Santa Monica, while it may be a while from now, it is going to be a PS5 only title. And that's going to be interesting. That's going to be very interesting because, they're doing some good things here. DX Kasim, hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. You're saying, MBG, there's still time to play God of War 3, LOL. Yeah, that's true. I guess you are right about that. There is still time, technically. Although, man, like, I feel like the game's coming out in just 3 days. It's really creeping up on me at this point. Which, it's weird because it's like, it feels like such a long wait. And then, like, the final week, it just seems to go by really quickly. And it does kind of feel like it sneaks up on you. Josh, again, thank you, man. You're saying crazy to think 2 years ago the conversation was again about the most powerful console. Fast forward to now, and 12 T-flops gets you Halo and Forza and PS bangers. Well, man, like, look, I know we bring up Xbox and Microsoft and Xbox fans on this podcast, and I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say, we're not going to talk about Xbox ever again on the podcast. That would be I'd be lying to everybody right to your faces. We know it's going to happen. But I just want to say, at the end of the day, when people are trying to make their arguments, whether it's for or against something regarding Xbox or PlayStation, I'm just going to lay this out for you. This isn't to make Xbox look bad. I want to make that clear. I am rooting for Xbox when it comes to their studios to deliver good games. I'm not sure what kind of gamer advocates for the failure of any video game studio. It doesn't make any sense. I want to make that clear before I say this. I would like to see Microsoft bring out good video games. In fact, I just saw that Matt Booty, the head of Xbox Studios, talked about State of Decay 3 and how they're taking that game very seriously. They want it to look really impressive, and they have the Coalition helping them on that. That gets me very excited. But what I want to point out here is this past week, here's the dichotomy between where Microsoft is in 2022 and where Sony is in 2022. All right? And if anything, this also continues to reveal why I don't think Sony can continue to play the victim here. Phil Spencer does an interview where he basically admits, we have not really been releasing first-party games this year. We hear the fans. We know that people are basically pointing out that you guys aren't releasing video games. Like you're buying all these studios, you're not releasing them. And he admits this, and he says basically what we've heard many times before. He says 2023 is going to be better. We're going to have a good lineup in 2023. Now, I'm not saying that that's untrue. I don't know. I don't know the future. All I'm saying is that when I know the past, and in the past, Phil Spencer has reiterated a very similar sentiment year after year. In this same week, we are getting God of War Ragnarok reviews, and it's now clearly going to be in the running for Game of the Year 2022. That's on top of getting Gran Turismo 7 and Horizon Forbidden West from Sony's first-party studios specifically, and The Last of Us Part 1, if you want to count that. Which I'm going to be honest, I don't necessarily count that because it's not a new game. And this is why I'm just simply saying, like, these people who are out here trying desperately to throw a wrench in the hype machine or the excitement, and they're clearly trying to they're clearly trying to achieve something here. It's like, let's just take a step back and analyze where we are right now, and just let's slow our roll a little bit, okay? Let's slow our roll a little bit with the with the nonsense. So that's where we are right now. But yeah, dude, Josh, I remember that, man. I remember that very clearly. We are about to, in just a week, it's going to be the 2-year anniversary of the PS5, and I will never forget how important that conversation was at that time to seemingly everybody who was interested. The conversation of the most powerful console and the teraflops and it's easy to get wrapped up in that. And I admit I got wrapped up in it. I think everybody does to a degree. You can't help but get caught up in it, But, there were many times where I and many others said, it's not going to matter. Like, it's just not. Like, the power of these consoles, when you do your research, you realize that there's not that big of a difference. And the reality is it comes down to talent. It comes down to what teams can do with the console and what they have on, what type of development talent they have. And I think we have continued to see that proven true. That's not to say that games look bad on the Xbox or anything like that. They don't. But I did see, again, not to bring it up just for the sake of bringing it up, but again, this is in reference, Josh, to your super chat. We did see that apparently Halo Infinite is finally getting ray tracing, and I saw people doing the little slider, like ray tracing on, ray tracing off, and it's like, yikes. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm not seeing a difference at all. And it was just, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of laughable because it's like, I don't know, man. I feel like Halo really needs a win, and that could have been a win. And it's like they come out and they're like, we got ray tracing, and it's like, oh, okay. And then everybody's like, oh, it doesn't look any different. It's unfortunate. I do agree to a degree. Wow, that sounded weird. Trophy Achievement Hunter. I think ray tracing is a bit overrated. I think it was really hyped at the beginning of this generation, but I think it's become a lot less important to most people. It's still nice. Like when it's done right, like I still think of like Ratchet and Clank, and even Spider-Man, like Insomniac really, I think did a good job showing like, this is what ray tracing can look like on the PS5. And it's like, oh, damn, like that looks really good, but at the end of the day, it's like, I'll be honest, like to me, I'll trade ray tracing in for 60 FPS, and a higher performance any day at this point in time. But I look forward to, I know everybody's against the PS5 Pro, but dude, if Sony brings out a PS5 Pro and they're like, you can get 4K at 60 with like full ray tracing or like really good ray tracing, I'd be like, okay. You're saying ray tracing is not overrated. You're right. I might be reducing it down a bit too much. I guess all I mean to say, I don't mean to say it's overrated. I think that's the wrong term to use. I think what I mean to say is I feel like it's just not as much of a talking point like 2 years after the consoles launched that it was at the time that the consoles actually launched. Like I was a little bit surprised that Ragnarok features no ray tracing, I believe whatsoever, if I'm not mistaken, on PS5. And it's like, oh, like, okay, it's not a problem, but I just feel like it's been a while since we talked about ray tracing, But maybe that conversation is going to be saved for, like I said, a PS5 Pro or something. Unknown, please shave the 80 stash. Dude, that's funny, man. When it comes to the mustache, people are very much torn on it. People either love it or just can't deal with it. Well, for those who don't like it or think it's creepy or whatever, rest assured, I'm letting the beard grow back out. It's just taking a little bit longer. It's been like a week. So no worries. No worries. The beard's coming back. Looking good, my dude, LMAO. And then the next guy right below him, I'm not feeling the mustache. And then somebody says the mustache looks good. I love it. Do a poll. I would do a poll if look, my wife, it's not that she isn't a fan of the mustache necessarily. It's just that she's a huge fan of the beard. She loves when I have a beard. So she was quite devastated when I shaved. So if that wasn't a factor here, maybe I would do a poll and I would ask you guys what I should go with. But at the end of the day, the wife's already made that decision. So for us. You look like one of those dads at a NASCAR race. Nice, dude. Thank you, I guess. I don't know. Should I be saying thank you? Anyway, keeping it on track here. Techie6, on which graphics mode my cats are fighting? Just a heads up. You guys know the drill. If you hear them in the background, that's what you're hearing. They're just playing with each other. I don't know why they're being that loud, but which graphics mode am I going to be playing on? I'm going to be playing... Oh my... Are you guys serious? Stop. They do this on purpose. I'm going to be playing in the performance mode. I'm going to be playing at 60 FPS. I'm going to be playing at 60 FPS. So... Dude, you guys in the chat need to calm down, bro. Like, what's up? What's up with... You're whipped. Let her grow a beard. She wants like, bro, dude... Like, it's not that serious, man. Like, it's not that serious. Guys, my wife's making me grow a beard against my own will. Like, have you not followed me on this channel? I've had a beard literally 99% of the time because dude, it's easier. It's easier, bro. Like, if anything, it would be a little bit more difficult. What would be more difficult for me is if I had a wife that was like, I want you clean shaven all the time. That's where I'd be like, I don't know about that. I don't know that I want to be clean shaven all the time and shave almost every day. That would be too much for me. So if anything, I'm glad. Jay says a lot of guys in here who have never had a woman to keep happy. Happy wife, happy life. Oh, man. My thoughts on the Overdose leak. I'm going to talk about that later. That's a topic I have set up. This is my favorite comment on the mustache, and this is the last time I'm going to acknowledge the mustache before we move on. You look more French this way. I love that. Nice. I look more French. I don't know if I have any French in me. I don't think I do. All right. Yeah, so I'm going to be playing God of War Ragnarok at the performance mode at 60 FPS. Because to me, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll go higher than that, but we'll see. I like that. I want the dynamic 4K. Like, I want to see the game at certain points go as high as it can with resolution when it's not really busy, and still have that 60 FPS. Julian, you're saying Microsoft raised the price in India. Check Twitter, LOL. Yeah, no, I saw that. I did see that. And no one's going to say anything. No one's going to care. No one's going to report on that because it's not the cool thing to do, right? I mean, obviously it's different just raising the price in one area versus basically almost globally. But we'll see if that continues or not. That could be the way that Microsoft's going to do it, to kind of sweep it under the rug. Like every couple of weeks, they're going to raise the price in like one region, and they're just going to do that over the course of like a couple months. So that way, like, no one kind of notices or pays attention. Sergio, you're saying, hey, MBG, did you play A Plague Tale Requiem? What a masterpiece that game is. I actually haven't yet, but I've heard really, really, really good things about it. I've seen multiple people come out and say that that it's their game of the year. And I'm not sure when exactly I'm going to get to playing it, but it's definitely a game that's going to have to go on my list, and I am going to have to, because it's right up my alley, dude. It's a bigger single player experience, and from what I've heard, it's a great game. So that's on my backlog right now, but I will get to that at some point. OG Splinter 08, you're saying, MBG, I'm excited for God of War this week. I'm also excited to see what this generation of consoles can bring us. Absolutely, man. I will say that if there's one thing, and I don't look at this as a negative, I think it's just the where we are right now. I really am getting the sense, especially after seeing the analysis of God of War Ragnarok on the PS5 from Digital Foundry. I'm really getting the sense that we really have not seen it yet. Like, I just don't think we've seen what can be done on the PS5. The closest thing I think we've gotten is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. And even then, Insomniac reiterated multiple times that they're just scratching the surface. This is just something that the first thing they can think of to try to do something unique and creative. But we are not at that point yet. And I'm excited for that as well, man. But hey, God of War Ragnarok this week. Very happy, man. Very happy. You know what's interesting as well is that Ragnarok is this week, and in just a couple weeks after it launches, actually almost exactly 1 month after it launches, the Game Awards. And I have to admit, I'm more interested in the Game Awards this year because I really want to see how this battle plays out. You know, I really want to see. Let's face it. The Game of the Year contenders, the two big Game of the Year contenders, are going to be Ragnarok and Elden Ring. And I really want to know. Who's going to win that one because I just like it's not that it matters at that much at the end of the day, but it makes for some very interesting and entertaining conversation. You're saying Elden Ring was a bigger gaming phenomena. Well, even if that's true though, like that doesn't guarantee. Like I need to remind everybody because I've seen quite a few people basically talk about Elden Ring like it's bulletproof. Like there's just no way Ragnarok stands a chance. And I'm like, look, guys, God of War 2018 beat Red Dead Redemption 2. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, Red Dead Redemption 2 has a higher Metacritic score. Yeah, dude, Red Dead Redemption 2 is sitting at a 97 on Metacritic. A 97 on Metacritic. And in 2018, God of War 2018 beat it. That's insane. So all I'm trying to remind people of here is no game is bulletproof. No game is bulletproof. Okay? So while Elden Ring maybe got more attention to a degree because it's a multi-platform game and it maybe surprised people, it's not necessarily a sequel. It is technically a new IP. It's open world. It's doing a lot of things right. And it is a massive game for sure. And it does have a higher Metacritic score. Doesn't mean that it's it's in the bag yet. So I wonder if Horizon Forbidden West is going to be nominated for Game of the Year as well. That'll be interesting. I could see both Ragnarok and Forbidden West being nominated. Let me see. Aaron says you were supposed to grow a beard for God of War Ragnarok MVG. Yeah, I know. I failed. I failed miserably. It's okay. Leo Jimmy, you're saying, what's up, MBG? 2 things. If I don't kill that snake in God of War, I'm going to be mad. Don't care if it's not in the story to fight it. And 2, Phil is still buying time, literally. Yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not going to dive too deep, Leo, into what I think is going to happen. In the story, because first of all, I've been spoiled, not by everything. Like I still don't know all the details, but I've seen a few things. I've seen a few things that give me a pretty good idea of some of the things that happen in the game. So I cannot speculate any further. Because it would be a little bit skewed by what I've seen. I will say that when it comes to that, I'm not sure where it goes on, but that would be an epic battle for sure. It's a pretty terrifying one. MBG, did you hear about the AAA John Wick game? Oh yeah, I did, dude. I don't think, dude. Look, I need Sony to go for that. I really do. I know that there are other studios. People get mad. People get mad at me if I say Sony should make the AAA John Wick game. People get mad because they're like, there's so many other studios and more people could play. It's like, dude, I'm not saying that for the exclusivity factor. People need to realize that. I'm not saying that for the exclusivity factor. I'm saying that because I trust Sony. The only other developers that I would probably trust with a AAA John Wick game are Remedy, and they're not going to do it. They're way too busy. Remedy's working on like 4 different games right now. They're stretched as thin as they can be stretched at this point. Rockstar. I mean, come on, dude. Max Payne 3, they would be the perfect fit for a John Wick game, but they're not going to do it. Rockstar won't make anything right at this point. They're just the GTA studio and maybe another Red Dead. GTA Red Dead. That's where they are, you know? They're on GTA 6. They're not going to make that. I saw people saying IO Interactive. Yeah, maybe they could, but they're working on a, please correct me if I'm wrong. IO Interactive is currently working on a 007 game. So I don't think they could. Even if they wanted to, I don't think they could. They're already in a contractual agreement. So to me, it's like Sony, I don't know, man. I would absolutely trust PlayStation Studios to deliver a really good one. You're saying Rocksteady? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could see Rocksteady with their combat. I don't know how. I mean, the problem with creating a perfect AAA John Wick game is you have to be a master. You have to be able to master shooting mechanics, third-person shooting mechanics, as well as intense, intricate hand-to-hand combat gameplay. And that's a tough combo right there. So here's my thing. You know what I think? I think Sony should get this AAA John Wick game, get Housemarque to do the shooting mechanics, okay? And hire Slow Clap, who made Sifu, to do the combat. And maybe get a third studio on it if you could. Get Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog won't do it, but get dude, you're saying what the F, please no. Can you think of anything better? Hey. Oh my God, dude, my cats are really beginning to annoy me. They start doing some stuff. I swear it's just to annoy me on my podcast. Whatever. But yeah, I that John Wick game, I would love to see Sony get in on that. Simply just for the fact that I trust Sony. I trust Sony when it comes to AAA game development. I think that they would do it justice. Aaron says, nah, Blue Box. We must believe they will deliver a John Wick game someday. Yeah, bro. That's what they've been working on this whole time. We're going to talk about that. Believe me, there's going to be a whole segment of this podcast dedicated to that. You know, Kojima finally addressing Blue Box after all this time. So weird, man. So weird. We're definitely going to talk about that. That's coming up. But another reason why I want Sony to get the John Wick game, the AAA John Wick game so bad, is because I'm just nervous of like who else could get it, because I just feel like if Ubisoft or somebody, like, I don't know. I don't trust them. And John Wick is one of my favorite franchises, man. I've been dreaming of a AAA John Wick game. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what they end up doing. I would just be happy to get one, though, at the end of the day. Parasolo, you're saying, how many hours are you going to put on Ragnarok in your first session? That I'm unsure of. I mean, I want to say at least a couple of hours, right? Like, you guys know I don't normally stream on the channel here, but Ragnarok is such a big occasion. I'm going to try to dedicate. To me, it's similar to when the PS5 launched. If you remember when I did my Demon Souls stream, it was the day the PS5 came out. I streamed for a couple of hours. It was my first time not only playing on the PS5, but playing Demon Souls. And, it was a really good stream and people really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed it. The thing is, like, I'm not really used to playing games on a stream that often, so it always feels like, like I have to be more aware of what I'm doing and not get overly distracted by the chat, because that's not something I'm good at. I've talked about this before. People ask me why I don't stream games as much. It's because I'm really terrible at managing the chat while still taking in everything from the game that I would like to take in from it. So when I stream God of War Ragnarok, I'm obviously going to have the chat up, but I'm going to try my best to just basically make it so that you guys are just watching me experience it for the first time. I mean, obviously I'll read super chats and whatnot, but that's something I want to be cognizant of, because if I'm not, I seriously get way too distracted by the chat, and I end up like either not paying attention enough to the game. And this is a game, it's a story-based game, right? You know, God of War Ragnarok, one of the biggest reasons we're all playing it is I want to see those cutscenes. I want to see what's going on, you know? So, do I feel pressure by my audience? The only time I streamed and felt an immense amount of pressure, because I did not know what I was getting myself into. And I'm not sure if everybody here was around when I did this, but I'm sure some of you were. I did a complete playthrough of Shadow of the Colossus, and it was my first time playing it. And you guys were telling me, like, dude, you have to play this. I had no idea how like puzzle based that game was, and how you had to kind of solve each boss. And you know, when I would start to realize that I am too dumb for this, like I am not. Now I'm feeling the pressure that like if I was playing this alone, I'd probably start getting frustrated. Be like, I can't figure this out. You know, I'm either going to look it up or I'll come back to it. But because I was streaming and everybody was watching me, they're like, ooh, I wonder if MBG is going to be able to figure it out. And I'm like, okay. I'm going to try to figure it out. But when I really started to lose my mind when streaming Shadow of the Colossus, I think it was like the very last boss battle. For those who played Shadow of the Colossus, I'm sure you're aware that you have to climb the bosses. Like, that's not a spoiler. But the very last boss battle is so like it's just such a massive boss. It's so tall. Like, you have to do so many different climbs, and they do require, like, I was actually quite surprised, it required a significant amount of precision, and I was just not getting it, man. And I started to feel like my hands were starting. So I'm like, oh, dude, I'm going to fail right now as a gamer here, where I'm not going to be able to do this. I pushed through. I made it. But that was the only time I was doing like a live stream. And I felt pressured. So yeah, that was an experience for sure. I would argue Shadow of the Colossus is the reason why I stopped streaming games. Because I'm like, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this stress. The truth is, when it comes to puzzles in games, I'm not very good at them. I'm not very good at puzzles with games. They stress me out. Like, even just when I'm playing a game alone, like a lot of times they stress me out. Although I wonder if in Ragnarok, they probably, if I had to guess, Ragnarok very likely has a setting, an accessibility setting that probably makes it so you can either like completely skip most of the puzzles, or if not all of them. I'm not saying when it utilize that setting. You know, what I usually do is if I'm really struggling and I'm like, I feel like I'm wasting my time at this point, I will just look up the solution to a puzzle. I will always try to figure it out myself, but if it starts to get like, I'm not getting this, I'll just look it up. Because that's one thing I hate in games. Truly, if there's one thing that makes me despise games, playing of video games, is as long as it, like, if I'm not choosing to play a strictly puzzle-based game, it always makes me feel like it's getting in the way of my enjoyment because it's just holding me up. You know? Like, I don't like for like playing a game like Resident Evil, for example, that's kind of different because I know like this is a very puzzle-heavy game that's part of Resident Evil. That doesn't mean I still don't get frustrated, but in like action games and stuff, when there's just like suddenly now you have to stop everything you're doing and you have to use your brain to figure this out. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't, but most of the time I'm like, I want to just, what I personally prefer, and this may make me sound kind of dumb, but it's just the truth. I like easy as hell puzzles. Like I like 1, 2, 3 or ABC 1, 2, 3 puzzles. That's what I prefer because it makes it feel like it flows better. When I hit a wall with puzzles that are like really obtuse and require a lot of thinking, it starts to really bother me because I'm like, it's just completely killing the flow of this game. And I feel like now I'm more focused on this puzzle and it feeling like this is the hardest boss of the game. So just a little side tangent there about puzzles and games. I know Ragnarok will have puzzles. If I'm not mistaken, though, God of War 2018's puzzles weren't too bad. I think I only got hung up on No, there were definitely some puzzles in God of War 2018 I got hung up on. But I'm at a point, though, where I will tell you, like, if I'm streaming a game, because I used to be against this, but now I'm not. If I remember streaming a game and I'm stuck, I'm just going to look at the chat. Like, if you guys are seeing something I'm not, and you guys want to help me, because that's a lot of times, if I play games with my wife, for example, she'll like watch me play games. She's the one that's really good at puzzles, and she helps me out most of the time, right? Like if I play a Resident Evil game, I'm usually playing it with my wife, and we kind of work on it together that way. So if I'm ever streaming, you guys are gonna have to be like that. The chat's gonna have to be my my backup. Let me see here. Where am I at? RU46 N2 Ray, a member for 16 months. Thank you, man. You're saying, what have you been playing lately, and what is a game you would love to play that has been in the backlog for a while? P.S. You got to play Prey, Arcane's last good game. Well, first off, I highly doubt I'm ever gonna play Prey. I've heard good things about it, but it's just one of those titles where it's like it's never really appealed to me, and I could just tell you flat out, like it's just not a game I'm too interested in. When it comes to what I've been playing lately, I've still just been playing God of War 2018. I haven't been playing it too much because I kind of just realized that I'm likely not going to beat it by the time Ragnarok comes out. And I did find out, this is not a spoiler, this has been confirmed. I did find out that apparently they do have like a significant recap of God of War 2018 at the beginning of Ragnarok. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm like mostly through God of War 2018. I still have a good chunk left though. But I just kind of was like, you know what? I'm not going to be hard on myself if I don't complete it by the time, Ragnarok drops. Not a big deal. Honestly, as I continued to play more and more of it started to come back, and I started to remember more, and it's pretty fresh in my mind right now. And I'm going to be honest though, I kind of stopped playing God of War 2018 probably this past week, or most of the week, because I started to get this strange feeling. I was like, did I make a mistake playing God of War 2018 this close to the launch of Ragnarok? I say this because one thing I'm looking forward to, or I kind of want out of Ragnarok, is because it's been so long since I played God of War 2018 up until just very recently, I want it to kind of go in and I want it to feel like completely fresh again. Now, I know that there's going to be a lot of new stuff there that does feel fresh automatically, but I kind of made the decision where I'm like, I'm going to put God of War 2018 down for now because I'm afraid it's going to feel like I'm just basically sliding right into it, and that's not necessarily what I want to feel when I first boot up Ragnarok. So I'm just, in a way, I guess I've just been spending the last week and a half or so trying not to play much of anything, to just kind of be, just waiting. Just in like the only game I'm honed in on right now is Ragnarok, and I just want to go into it, and it's just like anything else. I don't know if you guys have tried this before, but when there's a really big game that I'm looking forward to, to me, it's like we all have, I think, tiers in our minds, like S tier, A, B, C, when it comes to games we're looking forward to. And when it comes to the S tier games, there's not many of them, but when it comes to those S tier games, what I try to do is actually, leading up to the launch of it, limit my time gaming, because I like to just kind of get away from the feeling of playing a video game for temporarily. So that way there's like an added, I don't know how to explain it. There's just this added feeling of enjoyment and pleasure when you boot it up. It's pretty simple logic. You take a break from something, you go back to it. It feels even better than if you were just doing it the whole time leading up to it. But that to me is pretty much what I've been doing for Ragnarok. And it's like drugs. I mean, if you want to talk about the way the human brain works, chemically speaking, it's not exactly like drugs, but it's also not that different in a way. But maybe it is the same. I don't know. I'd have to look more deeply into that. But it's, you know, it's just like if you're eating like a big dessert or something after dinner every night for like 2 weeks, and you're kind of like indulging, it's gonna, and then maybe like by the 15th night you get a dessert that's like really good. You're like, damn, this is like next level. No matter what, if you didn't have any desserts after dinner for the past 2 weeks, this is a weird analogy. I don't know. Maybe I'm hungry. Maybe that's why I'm thinking of this. I have a sweet tooth right now. You don't have anything for 2 weeks. You just eat your meal and that's it. And then the 15th day comes and it's like this insane, like, I don't know. Just name your favorite dessert, something that's like a complete, like, game changer for you. And you get that on the 15th day. It's like, dude, it's going to hit different. It's going to hit different. Yeah, the endorphin release is going to be different. Anyway, yeah, this is getting weird. I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on here. It's all about the chemistry of the brain, though. That's the point. Everything in moderation, right? Everything in moderation. That's the key. RE46N2 Ray, thank you for the question, man. Subtext, thank you for the 10. You're saying, to save time, I watched the God of War 1 through 3 story and rewatched big 2018 scenes. I believe you also watched games 1 through 3. The cycle must end, and meaning behind Atreus' name hits much harder now. Same for you. Yeah, definitely, man. I might even either tomorrow or the day after watch another recap once again, because yeah, I do have a pretty complete understanding of Kratos' entire arc, and this is where it's like, based off of what I've seen, not spoilers, but the footage I've seen that's out there publicly released by Sony and Santa Monica, I really get this sense that a core theme of Ragnarok really is going to be, and it was there in God of War 2018, but I feel like it's really going to be pushed much further in this game, is in God of War 2018, you could tell Kratos felt a sense of shame, and he also felt like, I need to be really careful about what I pass on to my son here, and that's one of the reasons why, spoilers for God of War 2018, giving you a warning now, if for some reason you're looking forward to Ragnarok and you haven't played God of War 2018 and you're planning to before, quick spoiler warning. 3, 2, 1. Okay. That's why in God of War 2018, you could tell one of the biggest reasons Kratos didn't want to tell Atreus that he's a god is because he was just so afraid of what that would do to him, mentally and psychologically, and what he could turn into. And his biggest fear is Atreus essentially turning into him. And I really feel that in Ragnarok, it's going to be, we're going to see Kratos pushed to his limit, where it's like, I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. The way I view Kratos going into God of War Ragnarok is he is the God of War. He is immensely powerful, like unbelievably powerful, right? Especially now, because he was kind of forced to get back into it in God of War 2018. Ragnarok's here. I think he's just accepted that he's still going to have to fight. He's still going to have to, be aggressive, whether he wants to or not. And I think he's accepted that, but I think he has a rule. That's the feeling I get with Kratos going into Ragnarok. I think he has a rule, and that rule is like, you don't go back to who you were, no matter what happens, right? You don't go back to who you were. You never let that come out again. And I get this feeling that a big theme of Ragnarok is going to be, there's going to be multiple things that occur that are going to try to push that out of him and try to bring that out of him. And I think that's part of that's one of the things that I think we're just so interested in finding out, is like, are we going to see him go back to that? And if so, what does that mean? What does that mean for Kratos? What does that mean for Atreus? And even better yet, what would have to happen to make him get back to that point? So, to me, that's interesting. Like that, to me, that's what's so fascinating about where we are with Kratos at this point. And it's not that I wasn't ever interested in previous God of War games, but I just love this added layer to Kratos that just simply wasn't there before. Like Kratos was always somewhat of a deep character to a degree where, obviously he did have a family originally, and everybody should know like what happened in that situation. But it just became like he became so single-minded and everything became so singular, where there were seemingly less and less layers to him, where the only thing that was left is just, I'm going to murder every god and nothing else matters. And a lot of people like that. But so I just like this. I really like this version of Kratos a lot better, because I feel like it makes whatever could happen next that much more interesting. So yeah, man. So asking if it's the same for me, yeah, it definitely is, man. There's a lot clearly we're gonna learn with Ragnarok, and I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to all the twists and turns. Broccoli Rob, so thank you for that subtext. Broccoli Rob, you're saying, "What's up, MBG? Excited for God of War Ragnarok. Hope all is well, man." Thank you. I am doing good. A little bit tired. I've been working out a lot lately, so today's like technically my rest day, so I'm a little bit tired there. But I'm also excited for God of War Ragnarok, man. I feel like that's pretty much what we've been spending most of the podcast up to this point talking about. So yeah, we'll just keep the hype going until Wednesday, man, and probably after that as well. That's another thing I'm looking forward to, is when the floodgates open, when the game is officially out, and we can kind of talk about it. I'll have to figure out how I'm going to handle that, though. I think what I might do, like, I am not sure if I'm going to stream the entirety of Ragnarok. I could. It depends. It depends on how well it goes and how much I feel up to it. But what I might do is, I'm not going to talk about God of War Ragnarok spoilers after I begin to play it on my podcast. I'll probably talk about the game and I'll review it, but I'm not going to get like deep into like what's going on. To be spoiler free, I might reserve that conversation for either, like, for example, before I end my stream this Wednesday, after I play it for a couple hours, I might sit there for a little bit and simply just talk to you guys about like what the hell we just saw and what's going on. Or I could do dedicated spoiler streams, where I just make it clear that if you're clicking on this stream, we are talking about God of War Ragnarok spoilers. Because I just feel like, the podcast is so diverse. Or if I do at any point in the future I do start to talk about spoilers for God of War Ragnarok after I start playing it, I will issue a very explicit warning. But see, that's where it's kind of tough, though. Well, yeah, I guess I could issue the warning right in the title. But maybe we could do dedicated spoiler streams. We'll see. It also depends on what exactly happens. So, very excited. Very excited. Kitford, you're saying, will you be picking up Evil West on the 22nd? I'm going to do whatever it takes to get PSVR2. Evil West, I actually do think looks really good, and it's a game I'm definitely interested in, but I'm very likely still going to be deep into Ragnarok when it comes out. So what I'm going to do, what my plan is likely that will be my next game. I don't know. My next game after Ragnarok is most likely going to be the Callisto Protocol. I could be finished Ragnarok by then. I might not. It depends. But December for me is probably going to be Callisto Protocol. And then after that, depending on how long it takes me to beat Callisto Protocol, I would like to play Evil West. But then we're talking about going into January. Then we have Forspoken. Well, then again, Forspoken comes out at the end of January. So most of January could probably be Evil West. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. Let me see here. Justin, you're saying, hi, MBG. Did you see the Digital Foundry video of why Plague Tale can't do 60? What's surprising is they said there won't be a ton of games of those games this generation. Actually, I didn't. No, I didn't. Probably because I didn't play the game. I didn't watch it, but maybe somebody will have to let me know. I'm sure that if there was anybody who was able to figure out why a Plague Tale can't run or isn't running at 60 on the current gen consoles, probably Digital Foundry. So, yeah, I don't suspect we're gonna get a ton of games like that this generation either. I really think Gotham Knights and A Plague Tale are gonna kind of be outliers. They already are outliers. So, yeah, but maybe I will check that video out, man. Even though, look, I did hear though that the people are not nearly as hard on A Plague Tale running at 30 frames per second, because a lot of people are saying the game still looks amazing. Like visually, it looks really good. And I feel like with Gotham Knights, people aren't necessarily saying the same things. In fact, I think with Gotham Knights, it's like, so this game can't hit 60, but it's also not that impressive compared to other games, you know? So I think it just goes to show that if a game can like do some crazy things on a technical level, and that's what locks it at 30, I think people will be more forgiving in that case. But if a game is stuck at 30 and it's not doing anything great or special or stand out, I don't think people are going to be happy about that. Yeah, that's true. You're saying it's a much slower game. It's like a stealth based game too. That's very true as well. So thank you for that, Justin. New Soul 9. Again, you're saying MBG. I'm going to be honest. I hate when people are trying to point out that Xbox is not releasing first-party games. The last thing I want is Cyberpunk 2077 games. This is why we have third-party games. Well, New Soul 9, I can certainly understand where you're coming from. But I'm gonna have to be totally honest with you back here. I don't fully agree. I mean, well, it depends on how we're looking at this. What I'll say is that obviously I would never want a video game publisher to release video games from their studios that are simply not ready. Okay, I'm not. I want to make it clear I would never advocate for that. That's the last thing I or anybody else wants. You're right. I never want to see another Cyberpunk 2077 situation again. However, in my opinion, there is a limit here. You know, there is a limit where it's like, I'm all about giving development studios time. Time is very important. If they need another year, give them another year. If they need another 6 months, give them another 6 months. If some, like, you know, I don't remember when Fable was announced, but we haven't seen that game, not once. And it seems like it's still years out from release. To me, the problem with Microsoft Studios right now, and what has continued to be their problem, it's not even so much that they're not releasing first-party games. Because I want to make it clear that every major platform holder goes through rough patches. It's just that after Microsoft has went so long, you know, without releasing anything of consequence outside of Halo, Gears, and Forza, you know, we've been talking for years about Hellblade 2. We've been talking for years about Fable. We've been talking for years about, you know, what's that studio? The the Initiative, and they're making Perfect Dark. You know, we State of Decay 3, and I'm sure other games I'm forgetting to mention. Avowed, yeah, like it's just we've been hearing about these games for so long. We've been talking about them for so long, and I just think, I'm going to be honest right now, man. I think there's at the absolute core of Xbox Game Studios, I think there's something fundamentally wrong that either can't be fixed or they still are nowhere near close to fixing. I say this because you look into 2023, right? And you know, it's easy to say that Xbox has so much coming, man. Look, they got right off the bat, they got Starfield and they got Redfall. It's like, yeah, they do, but they had to buy those games. Those games were already going to come out, you know? And I just, you look at the last two major titles, unless I'm missing something. If I'm missing something, please let me know. The last two major titles that come from Microsoft were at the end of last year, Forza Horizon, was it 5? Yeah, Forza Horizon 5 and Halo. And Halo came out to apparently really good review scores. Everybody was raving about it. And literally within a couple months, it just caught fire in a bad way. Like it disintegrated. 343 became like the most hated studio. And they just, as an entire studio, they just collapsed. The only studio, as far as I can see, that has been consistent, and I'm going to be honest, it's mainly because the formula doesn't change, it's kind of like a sports game to a degree, which isn't a bad thing, is Forza, you know? And I've given Playground Games a ton of credit where it's like, they seem to know what they're doing. I know people are saying it's just DLC, and it's like, look, it's extremely iterative, but I'll give them that, you know? But this is just where it's like the big change. Like everybody is giving Xbox, not everybody, but too many people, in my opinion, and you don't have to agree with my opinion, too many people, in my opinion, are giving Xbox more credit than they deserve, because all I can think to myself is Xbox still hasn't done the thing yet. They still haven't done the most important thing. They have not proven, in my opinion, that they know what the hell they're doing when it comes to delivering consistent quality first-party games. They've bought studios, they've bought publishers, and we continue to get updates from like people like Matt Booty and Phil Spencer about like, oh, it's like Matt Booty just talked about Fable, and he's like, oh yeah, it's coming along great. It's like, dude, what are you doing, man? Like, what are you doing? This is like your fifth time in the past like 3 years talking about Fable, and you have not shown a single piece of footage. Are you kidding me? And this is where it's like, Xbox fans, I know I'm just going to be honest, they're desperate for a win. They're desperate to get a game to come out that is getting the type of attention that Ragnarok is, that's getting the type of review scores, and maybe even the type of sales that Ragnarok is getting and will get. Right? Even something like Horizon Forbidden West. And they haven't gotten something like that. They haven't. And I don't know that they're going to. And they're banking on Starfield. And don't get me wrong, if Starfield is the big hit, which it seems like it's going to be, I'm not gonna talk shit. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, game's garbage. No, because the game looks like it's gonna be fine. Like, it looks like a Bethesda RPG, and anybody who's there's a lot of people interested in Bethesda RPGs, and if you know what to expect from a Bethesda RPG, you kind of know what you're getting with Starfield to a degree. And I think people are okay with that. My big problem, though, is if that game comes out, Starfield that is, it gets great reviews, maybe it even sells really well, and it's the talk of the town at the time, you're going to see Xbox fans come out and praise Microsoft in a way that they simply don't deserve. And that's what's going to bother me, because it's like, this isn't the game that you turn and say, Xbox Game Studios turned it around. No, Xbox Game Studios saved their ass. Phil Spencer saved Xbox Game Studios' ass by buying Bethesda and making sure that they could have this game to release while all of their other games are still, I don't want to say going through development hell, but apparently needing copious amounts of time to become competent video games. And this is just where I'm trying to just look at things for what they really are. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't enjoy Xbox. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't be excited for Xbox. This doesn't mean that you should hate Xbox. This doesn't mean that you should not enjoy Starfield and not feel good if it comes out to great reviews or anything. But it's just, I've said it so many times, not only on my podcast, but on the channel, that to me, what makes PlayStation Studios specifically so worth paying attention to, and why I'm so ready to go to bat for them. I know people think it's because I'm just some kind of die-hard loyal fanboy that believes PlayStation and PlayStation Studios can do no wrong. It's not that. It's because they know what they're doing. They're not just, it's not like they don't just know how to spend money, right? They know how to develop quality video games consistently. And it's not Sony coming out here saying that, well, we hear our fans and we didn't really release anything in 2022, but 2023 is going to be different. Like, that's not Sony saying that. Sony isn't talking, they're releasing video games, and they're releasing very good video games at that. I'm not saying that means they're perfect. And that's where people misconstrue what I'm saying. People come out and they say like, oh, dude, you defend everything Sony does. That's not true. Sony makes their own mistakes. Sony has their own pitfalls. Sony needs to improve in other areas. But it's just at the end of the day, what I'm able to do on an individual level is determine what matters most to me. You know what matters most to me? Quality AAA video game experiences. And Sony is producing those at a rate and on a level where I absolutely will not miss out on that. I will not miss out on that. To whereas anything that Microsoft is doing, I feel trepidatious about. I'm concerned. I'm inherently concerned about how is State of Decay 3 going to turn out, because I'm rooting for it. I want it to be good. I think people fail to see that, like, I do want more good video games to play, not less. And I will admit, I have a massive hesitance towards Xbox, but I just find it perplexing that Microsoft is getting all of this credit, and that's fine. They're doing some things correct, but people are mixing. They're trying to mix water and oil here, and it's just not going to work. Okay, you want to acknowledge that Microsoft is giving you a great deal through Game Pass. You want to feel like, look at that. Look at the investment Microsoft is making, buying all these studios, buying all these publishers, dumping all this money to it. I feel great about that. Feel great about that. That is good. Xbox is in it for the long haul, and that's very reassuring. But you cannot mix that with, oh, well, look at that. Xbox Game Studios is on fire. They know what they're doing. They make the best games. They have so many games. They got this. They got that. It's like, dude, look at things for what they are and call them for what they are. Doesn't mean you have to enjoy your games any less. It just means we cannot get caught up in this, because I will tell you, this is the exact same energy that I will put forth with PlayStation Studios, because make no mistake, if Sony fucks up, and I mean if they really fuck up in the next 4 years, like they just, for some reason, Spider-Man 2 is like, and Wolverine are like the last quality AAA single player games we get. I know this sounds ridiculous, but just bear with me here, just to balance everything out that I'm saying here. If these are the last quality single player AAA games we get from Sony, and then all we get after that is just garbage, live service, and it's just disgusting, and it's like they clearly just stopped giving a shit, and they're only chasing the dollar. Believe me, if that's what the future holds, you will not see anybody else rip into Sony harder than I will, because I know why I'm here. I'm not just here for PlayStation and the brand. I'm not just here for the console. I'm here for the specific type of gaming experience that they know how to deliver. And that's the point. All right. And so just felt the need to back that up here. And I New Soul 9 for some reason always knows how to put these. New Soul 9 brings out these super chats. He knows how to get me going here. So, but there you go. That's just something I wanted to say. Muhammad says, hard time believing that, because Naughty Dog, Insomniac, and Sucker Punch would never allow that. They would not make a game they do not feel like making. And that's I agree. Like, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, right? I'm not saying Sony's going to fail or falter in such a dramatic fashion, but it's like, I guess the best way I could put it is Sony has some goodwill with me. They do. A game like God of War Ragnarok coming out at the quality level it is, and me being, so excited for this, that goes a long way for me. That goes a long way for me. It doesn't mean they get a pass if they do something stupid next. It just means that I don't feel nervous about PlayStation Studios. I just don't. I don't think they're perfect. I think PlayStation Studios can mess up just as easily as any other development team can, and I think they will. I think there are going to be some mistakes, especially now that they're, really trying to dive into some live service stuff. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying they're bulletproof. I'm just saying I don't feel nervous about it. Not nearly as nervous. And I feel like for every time a PlayStation studio messes up, there's 2 or 3 other PlayStation studios that got their back because they know what they're doing, man. Like they know what they're doing. I think like the worst game I think that's been released for PS5 since it launched, at least in terms of like a Metacritic score, but also the way people were talking about it, I think was Destruction All-Stars. Like, I think that's really one of the only games that people, who like to play these types of games and go back and forth. Yeah, I would say Godfall, but it's not. Well, yeah, that's a partner studio as well. Godfall is pretty bad too. I'd say probably Godfall and Destruction All-Stars. But Destruction All-Stars, I think more so because Sony seemed to be more behind that game. This is just where it's like, yeah, they're not perfect. They're gonna mess up sometimes. They're gonna put out some stuff that's a little. Yeah, Babylon's Fall, was that even exclusive? We're not even gonna talk about that. We're not even gonna talk about Babylon. that game doesn't exist anymore. But you see a common theme here, though, don't you? That the games that are considered bad on Sony's platforms, it's not so much PlayStation studios themselves, not their internal studios messing up. It more so has to do with maybe Sony striking bad partnerships. And you can't, let's face it, Sony has to do that. They have to strike new partnerships because you never know. Like, this could be a diamond in the rough or it could be a piece of garbage. We don't know. We have to take a chance. Keeping this going here, though. See, Himanshu Yadav, you're saying id Software for John Wick Doom game. Amazing. I'll tell you right now, dude, look, I know some people are saying id Software for the John Wick game. You cannot make a John Wick game first person. You cannot. That would be a design mistake, in my opinion. Like, I don't know how that would even work. No way. Unless it's specifically a VR game of some kind. A AAA John Wick game has to be third person. The closest thing that we've seen to what would be a AAA John Wick game is Max Payne 3. Now, Max Payne 3 did not have hand-to-hand combat, but it was like the most refined third-person shooter. I'm shocked. I gotta say, I am shocked Rockstar never did more with it. Because believe me when I tell you, anybody who's played Max Payne 3, you know the greatness that is Max Payne 3 gameplay. I don't think I've ever played a third-person shooter better than Max Payne 3. But unfortunately, it's just a one-off game. Yumi says, confession, I've never watched any John Wick movies. You should, man. They're really good. Are the John Wick movies even worth watching? If you're really into like action movies, absolutely. I think the John Wick movies are literal, actual must-watch titles for action movie fans. If you're not into action, you probably wouldn't like it. Because there's story, and I think the story is decent. I actually think it's pretty good. I enjoy it, but you're not there just like mainly for the story. You're there for the action. And it's got a good blend. Josh, you're saying, oh, come on, MBG, you got an A90K. You have to try the 120. I'll probably try it. Man. I'll probably try it. But I don't know. I still am kind of a sucker for some higher resolutions. I do sit pretty close to my TV too, so having the higher resolution is, in my opinion, beneficial as well because I'm sitting closer to it. For me, in my experience, the closer you are to a screen, the more crisp, obviously, the higher resolutions look compared to when you're further away. Nuts on Chin, nice name, says, I need another Ratchet and Clank game. I think we'll get another one eventually. I don't know if it'll be anytime soon, but I think maybe before the generation's end, we'll get another Ratchet and Clank game. By the way, guys, before I continue on here, we have over 820 people here hanging out with me, which is awesome. So please hit that like button for me. Let's see if we can get to 400 likes. If you're excited for God of War Ragnarok coming this week, hit that like button. Show your excitement. How big of a screen do I play on? It's 55-inch. Nothing too crazy. I mean, I'm not sitting like 3 feet away from it. Not that close. That's a little bit too extreme. Unknown Gamer 99 says, what's going on with Blue Point Studios? They're definitely working on something, man. I'm not sure what they're working on. I don't think anybody really knows, but keep in mind, the last time we heard from Blue Point was when they got acquired by Sony. They're working on something original. So, who knows what it could be, man? It's also worth noting, I want to say this, when Blue Point said that they're working on original content, they heavily implied that it's a game, it's an IP that's already exists. Like, it's another game. It's not like a remake or a remaster, but they're continuing another game that already exists. So it's anybody's guess what that could be. And I think we're going to see Blue Point's next game whenever Sony has a showcase, guys. I will admit, a showcase is not on my mind right now. It's really not. But what I did want to mention earlier that I forgot to mention is one of the reasons I'm so excited for the Game Awards is one benefit to, I think, Sony not having a showcase this year is that there's a much, much higher chance that they will show something of significance, potentially great significance, at the Game Awards to kind of make up for that. That's what I think. I don't expect Sony to go all out at the Game Awards. Like, I don't think Sony's going to have like 3 new game announcements at the Game Awards. But what I could see at the Game Awards, especially because PlayStation, you already know PlayStation is going to have a big presence with games like Horizon and Ragnarok. But I think Sony's going to want to cap out the year by maybe having a big game announcement. One big new game announcement at the Game Awards. I do not think I have seen some people still asking if I think a showcase is going to happen this year. No chance. I'd be shell shocked if Sony did a showcase at the end of the year. I'd be like, yo, what? I wouldn't be upset, but I would just be shell shocked. What I think is most likely is if Sony's going to have a big show of any kind, I want to say it's much more likely that it will happen within the first 3 months of 2023, because if you look at how the financial quarters work and fiscal years, the next fiscal year for PlayStation starts on April 1st, 2023. And they're planning to sell 23 million units, which is a lot. Like, that's a lot of PS5s. And we know that they have Spider-Man 2 that they have to show off. We know we're going to be getting Final Fantasy 16 in that summer. And considering here's what I want you guys to consider. Once God of War is out, right? Like, once we finish out this year, we capped off the year with God of War. Sony has nothing. Like, they have nothing that they've announced. I mean, I'm not counting PSVR2 and PSVR2 games. I'm talking like, dude, Sony has all these studios, and we know 2 games from Insomniac. We know 1 major game, that being Final Fantasy 16, from a partner with Square Enix, and Forspoken from Square Enix as well. And I don't know. I would say KOTOR remake, but apparently that game's in development hell right now. So you have to imagine, dude. I don't know. You have to imagine that Silent Hill 2 remake. I guess it's just harder to count that because we don't know for certain that it's coming next year. I'm confident that it is. But yeah, it pretty much comes down to, like, Sony doesn't really have much of a roadmap. I will say this, though. Sony not doing a showcase this year makes me wonder just how insane their showcase will be. Yeah, true. There's Final Fantasy Rebirth as well. I guess I'm just trying to say that, like, we know of, like, the bigger stuff, right? Like some of the bigger stuff. Like, yeah, we know about Spider-Man 2. Yeah, we've known about it for well over a year now. Final Fantasy 16, the next Final Fantasy 7, Part 2, Rebirth. We know about that stuff, but it's just like, what about all these other studios that Sony has? Like, what are they doing? Like what have they been working on? And I really do think that what this indicates is, dude, Sony's next show, if they don't do another show until next year, if they don't do another show, like a big showcase until next year, I think that showcase is going to be colossal. How could it not be, right? So while it is extremely disappointing to not get a proper showcase from Sony in 2022, to me, it just means that the next one's going to be a hell of a show. A hell of a show. So, MBG, you should make a video what you believe each PlayStation studio is working on. I think I will at the beginning of next year to give an update. I think that'll be a good time to do a video like that, because I would like to do something like that. Nuts on Chin, you're saying, I say Sony, Apple, Google join forces to buy Microsoft. I don't think that could happen, bro. Yeah, that couldn't happen. There's no way. That's pretty illegal, I think. Truth Decay, you're saying, thank you for the 10, man. You're saying, what gets me is Xbox fans constantly bringing up what a great value proposition Game Pass is when there's been literally no quality exclusives to date. How much have they spent so far, and for what? Well, that again, that's kind of the interesting factor here is people, I think, are failing to separate. Not everybody, but like what you're bringing up, you're just, again, you're realizing that you just can't mix oil and water here. And what we're looking at is, yes, Game Pass, for what it is, objectively is a good value. You pay $10, you gain access to, how many games is it now? A couple hundred or something like that. Space D, you're saying is it 500 plus games? So it's grown quite a bit. So yeah, like objectively speaking, that's a great deal. Like if you're somebody who wants more content from Microsoft specifically and their studios, then the value begins to kind of come into question if that's what you value, And so to me, that's the thing that kind of, it's like when we talk about Call of Duty with PlayStation, right? Like, as a PlayStation fan, I can see the value in having Call of Duty available on PlayStation. Am I playing Call of Duty this year? No. Do I have any interest in Call of Duty at this point in time? No. Would I care if it was Thanos snapped out of existence tomorrow? Simply put, no, I wouldn't. However, I do understand that there are millions of PlayStation players who absolutely look forward to that game and playing it on their PlayStation. And I absolutely understand the value it has to Sony. So the reason why I'm kind of saying this is because I do understand the value that something like Game Pass holds to an Xbox fan in general, right? But I feel like there's just a fact that remains here that not everybody, but some people continue to ignore. And it's like, look, if you're an Xbox fan that says, I'm still going to cheer Microsoft on, I believe in Xbox, and I think next year is going to be amazing. And I think every year after that, it's going to be amazing. And I just had the utmost confidence. To that person, I say, more power to you. There's literally nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. The only people that I have a problem with are the people who say that and then turn around and say, but let me tell you right now, God of War Ragnarok probably deserves that 6 out of 10. God of War Ragnarok looks like DLC, and PlayStation Studios, they only know how to make one type of game. PlayStation's overrated. PlayStation this, you know what I mean? That's the thing here. Where it's like, if you want to have a conversation about the pros and cons of each platform, we can do that. But when it turns into my platform is the best, it's bulletproof, and yours just sucks, You're saying you still on that 6 out of 10, bro? No, it's just the first thing that popped into my mind. Most recent thing. It's like, that's not fun. That's not even that's not interesting. I don't like, my thing is, you can clearly see that some people just do it for attention. Favorite Metallica album? Saint Anger. No, definitely. I'm going to be honest. I think Saint Anger gets a little bit too much hate. But my favorite Metallica album, God, that's a tough one, dude. I mean, it's hard to not say Master Puppets is so good. The Black Album's really good. Yeah, dude. And Justice for All is kind of special to me, though. Like, Master Puppets is phenomenal, but And Justice for All, like, I just love the technicality with Metallica in that album. I really actually appreciated Lars's drumming a lot in that album. I know Lars gets a lot of flack as a drummer, but I think he did phenomenal work on And Justice for All. But to be honest, too, you're saying he could have said Load or Reload. I was actually going to say, dude, I actually really thoroughly enjoy Load and Reload from Metallica. I understand why when those albums came out, people were like, bro, Metallica, what are you doing? Stay in your lane. But if you just listen to those albums as they are for what they are and don't have an expectation of this is supposed to be like thrash metal and heavy, they're phenomenal albums, dude. Like, dude, one of their best songs, The Outlaw Torn. Any Metallica fans here? Outlaw Torn, dude, that's a masterpiece song in my opinion. So I think I've enjoyed pretty much every Metallica album. I still listen to all of them. I listen to Kill 'Em All. I listen to Ride the Lightning. I listen to a mix of everything. You know which album I think everybody wants to pretend doesn't exist, though? And I'm curious how many Metallica fans here know about this album. Lulu. I don't know if anybody knows about the Metallica album Lulu, but not sure what they were thinking. Like Lulu makes Saint Anger look like a masterpiece, bro. I don't know what was going on when they were like, let's make this Lulu album. And yeah, I don't know. That was a weird thing that Metallica did, but their more recent albums, Death Magnetic and God, what's the... I'm forgetting the name of their most recent album. I've listened to it so much, but their newer stuff is really good too. Like, they really kind of went back to their roots. So in general, dude, I'm a fan of Metallica. Is one of my favorite bands. I'm pretty much a fan of like almost all their work except Lulu, like specifically Lulu. So Lulu, there's a reason people don't know about it. But yeah, I like talking music a lot too. I listen to so much rock and metal music. I listen to it too much, I think. All right. Garage Inc. Yeah. What about Sepultura? I don't like listen to them a lot. I'm familiar with some of their songs and I've heard them like quite a few times. They're not like a band that I go out of my way to listen to, but like if they come on shuffle or something like that, MBG start reacting to music. Yeah, it's a popular thing to do on YouTube these days. That's like one of the most popular things to do. You know what I heard? You guys, obviously, most of you know at this point, Guns N' Roses is like my all-time favorite band. Personally, I think I don't know that Axl Rose, I feel like he doesn't really have it anymore, not for lack of trying. But I just want to say before moving on that apparently, so I saw that Guns N' Roses is getting ready to re-release Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. They're doing like a big box set, like 96 songs, a bunch of live songs. But apparently Slash said that after that, they're going to be releasing new songs, I guess. Or he said something like, we have a couple of other songs we're going to be releasing. And then he said they're going to go make a new album. And I'm like, bro, the last Guns N' Roses album was Chinese Democracy in 2008. And people were like, how long did we wait for this? So that's my little Guns N' Roses rant there. I'm curious to see if they actually make new music or not. Anyway, all right. You're saying Lamb of God is your number one? Yeah, dude, I've been listening to the new Lamb of God album. They still got it, man. It's unfortunate that Chris Adler isn't still drumming for them, but Lamb of God still has it for sure. All right. I know I'm losing some people here because they're like, oh, MBG is starting to talk about music. I'm not here for that. It's cool. It's cool. Do I like, really quick though, do I like Slayer? You know, Slayer's a band, I'm going to be honest, like, again, they're one of these bands I don't go out of my way to listen to. Like, they're not one of my, like, go-to bands, but I've been listening to them, like, throughout the years somewhat consistently. And they're I'd say, one of my preferred metal bands for sure. But even Slayer gets a little bit too, you know, they're a little bit too much for me sometimes. But yeah, they're, you know, Rain and Blood's classic, obviously. I would continue to name more of their songs, but if I did, I'd probably get insta demonetized. Really quick, the Hunter says, MBG, Axl Rose definitely has changed a lot. Sadly, not as good as back in the day with Guns N' Roses, but surprisingly, I think he was pretty damn good when singing for AC/DC Live when I seen him. Yeah, dude, I saw GNR live in 2017, and, you know, Axl Rose still, he has a kind of a bit of a Mickey Mouse sound going to him because of just, he's getting older. He can't hit the notes the same way. The way he sounds just changed. But, dude, yeah, I was impressed, man. I'm like, dude, these guys are like, what, almost in their 60s at this point, and 3-hour show, just full energy, you know. Gotta give him credit, man. Gotta give him credit. Best concert I've ever been to. That was an awesome concert. All right. So thank you for that, Truth Decay. I don't know how we went from your super chat to talking about music, but we did. Let me see here. We have Imran Khan with a $5 donation. Thank you so much for that, man. Let me see. The Furious saying, does it bug you that work on Starfield on the PS5 is wasted? Not so much. I mean, my only question is, how far did they get? Like, were they like mapping out how they were going to take advantage of the DualSense with the haptic feedback, and then that, like, stuff like that, and then they're like, oh, I guess we're just going to stop doing this now. Like, to me, that's funny to think. But yeah, I don't know, man. To me, it's what's so strange about Microsoft's approach with exclusivity is they're so picky and choosy. And I guess I understand why they're doing that, but it doesn't really make the most sense to me because, well, I guess Microsoft at this point in time, they kind of feel like, I think they're still in experimental mode. For example, like, I think Microsoft is very interested to see what will a game like Starfield do for our Game Pass numbers. Because I'll tell you right now, like, do you know what the most detrimental thing for Microsoft would be? Is if a game like Starfield did not really do much for Game Pass. That would be like a red flag for Microsoft. I think it will. I think Starfield, if there's ever a game that Microsoft's going to put out in recent years that's going to make people be like, yeah, I'm subbing the Game Pass to play this, I think it's Starfield. And I think Microsoft has higher expectations, but I do think if in the future, if Microsoft cannot, I'll put it to you this way. I think Microsoft's endgame, not to talk again too much about Microsoft here and keep going on and on, but I think Microsoft's ultimate endgame, like as in worst case scenario endgame, keep that in mind. I'm not saying this is what they're going towards. If Game Pass can't get to where they need it to be in like the next decade or so, and it's just not working, like no matter how much money they dump into it, no matter how many games they get into it, if it just can't hit the numbers that they want, worst case scenario, I could see Microsoft being first and foremost just a video game publisher. I could see a future in which, they're like, look, it turns out that putting these games in the Game Pass isn't getting these numbers where we want them to be. So we're just going to not only put them in the Game Pass, but we're just going to sell them as well, like on PlayStation. I could see that in the future if Game Pass can't do the type of work for Microsoft that they want it to, or that if these games don't have as much of an impact on Game Pass as they're hoping it will. It's still early. Like, I mean, I know a lot of people looked at Halo Infinite as like that game that's going to get people to Game Pass. I didn't see it that way. I kind of knew back in 2020 when we first saw Halo Infinite and it got memed on and delayed, I kind of knew like this isn't going to be the game that does it. I think Starfield may be the first game where it's like, okay, this could be like a game changer for Game Pass. Let's see what it does. Very interested. I'm very interested, believe it or not, to see that because not so much about the reviews of Starfield, but regardless of your opinion on Starfield, it's just Bethesda has a reputation, and Starfield is going to do well. Even if it reviewed terribly, Starfield would still do well. And I just want to know. My cat's behind me. She kind of startled me. I didn't know she was behind me there. Let me see. Axis Hawk, you're saying Extraction is such a great action movie too. I haven't seen that yet. Heard really good things about it. I'll have to check that out. Ex Cathedral, you're saying playing God of War 2018 again to refresh and prepare for Ragnarok. Last played it 3 years ago. Game still rules and is super fun. Can't wait for Ragnarok. Absolutely. Yeah, playing God of War 2018 recently, it's still I hate to say it like this because it makes the game sound old, but I'm saying it still holds up amazingly well. Like a game like God of War 2018, if it didn't come out in 2018 and it came out today, I think it'd still be getting 10 out of 10s. Absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait for Ragnarok. I'm trying not to be honest, I'm trying not to like say that over and over and over again. I know I've been saying it a lot because it gets a little bit redundant, but I'm ready. I've been ready. That's where I'll leave it. Mark Lovin, you're saying, hope the weekend is going well. Ready for God of War Ragnarok. I guess that's why maybe it feels like it's being repeated in my head so much because I'm reading so many people saying they're so hyped for Ragnarok. All right, Leia, I don't mind if you want to be up here, but you can't smash my microphone. That's just kind of rude, don't you think? Leia's like, I don't care. I'm here. Yeah, my weekend's going pretty well so far. Axis Hawk, you're saying thoughts on the Overdose leaked footage. Yeah, so I want to talk. Let's talk about some. Let's go down the rabbit hole. Although I'm going to be honest, we're not really going down the rabbit hole. If anything, guys, we're climbing out of the rabbit hole. Okay, I feel like for a while now, I've been kind of at the forefront of a lot of what's been going on with the Silent Hill rumors. Obviously, last year we had the whole Blue Box fiasco. Always kind of wondering what's going on with Kojima Productions and Hideo Kojima. What's happening here? And for those who maybe missed it, I'll just recap it for you briefly. All right, Leia. Come on, don't. She's always. Come up here. Come up here. Or just stand there. That's fine. Whatever you want to do. And she left. To recap, well, real quick, we have Nuts on Chin says, I'm ready for Sonic. Dude, I'm going to be honest. I totally forgot that Sonic is coming out the same day as Ragnarok. That's crazy. That's crazy. Man. Yeah, we'll see how that game does. Definitely going to be interesting to see how Sonic does. So a quick recap to let people know who maybe missed it. Hideo Kojima has his own podcast called Brain Structure. It's on Spotify. And this past week, him and Jeff Keighley were letting everybody know that the theme of their podcast was going to focus on like rumors and fake news. And he did make it clear, or Jeff Keighley did make it clear, that they were going to be talking about the Blue Box situation. And this is the first time Hideo Kojima has publicly acknowledged and officially acknowledged, this whole situation. And I'm telling you now that when I say this, please do not take it as me saying, guys, it's not over yet. Like, no, it's over. Okay. I think we can all agree it's over. So I'm just saying this just because I thought it was interesting. Not because I think that there's some kind of, no. All right. The one thing that I found interesting about what Hideo Kojima said. And I do want to refer everybody to not my video from yesterday, but the day before. So the video I put out on Friday, I actually have the clip fully of what Kojima said. If you want to know the full context and everything he said, go check that video out. But the one thing that I found interesting is that he basically said, Kojima that is, he basically said the same thing that Hasan Karaman said a while back. And that just, to me, that just kind of, it stuck with me because maybe, I don't know, maybe Kojima was paying closer attention than we thought. Or maybe it's just another coincidence. But he basically said, hey, the game isn't out yet, so he should hurry up and release the game. And that's not the part that he said that was the same thing as what Hasan Karaman said. What he went on to say is that I think that there's not much he can do right now, but when he releases the game, if he releases something that's good, people will see that it's good, and it might turn things around. And it might, people might basically turn their opinions around, and what was basically a bad situation can be a good situation, and maybe people will kind of forgive the whole thing that happened. And I just thought that was so interesting because I remember reading different messages from Hasan Karaman. He was replying to people, and he was saying the same thing, because people would basically say to him, like, dude, it doesn't matter. Like, it's over. This game doesn't exist. Even if it comes out, it's going to get destroyed. And he was like saying, look, I think if we can just, when people see the game, when we deliver it, I think people will be okay with it. And I just thought that was fascinating because, a very similar sentiment there. And maybe that's a good thing because I guess at the end of the day, when you evaluate the situation, it's like, yeah, I guess that really is all that's left with this whole thing where I'm going to say this, all right? And I know I don't have to say this. I know that a lot of people are going to tell me, like, MBG, dude, you don't have to, it's not a big deal, man. Or like, you weren't the only one. I want to say this. A part of me, after listening to Kojima's podcast, and especially after listening to the Blue Box part, and Blue Box Game Studios did respond, and they simply just thanked Kojima for acknowledging it, and they said, hopefully we can finally close this. It made me feel pretty bad, like, honestly, because I don't blame myself, because the reality is I did actually think for a good while there, like, that there's something here. And anybody who was following me at the time, there was, we were making connections and we were discovering things that were like, holy shit, this is kind of crazy. And it really became a game in it of itself. And I think a lot of people latched onto that. And one of the things that Kojima said in his podcast is he was basically talking about two types of fake news, because that was the main theme of the whole podcast, where Kojima was addressing rumors and whatnot. He was saying there's basically two types of fake news. There's fake news that's just based, it's almost like a malicious type of fake news, where it's based off of people pretty much just trying to lie to trick people and to gain attention and to gain clicks, and to take something that was said and completely reword it to push an agenda, basically that type of fake news. But then he said there's another type of fake news which he thinks is the better of the two, which is fake news that's based off of people's hopes and dreams, essentially, and almost like trying to will something into existence. And that's what he basically called the blue box situation. And to me, what I think is what I thought was so fascinating about hearing Kojima talk about it is he definitely hit the nail on the head. And that's, you could tell, like, he knew what was going on. He knew exactly what was going on. And that's exactly what it was, dude. He acknowledged it exactly for what it is, which is, yeah, this was absolutely a situation where people like myself and many others, like, we just wanted it to be something so bad, that it created a lot of stuff, honestly, that was not true, that it wasn't real, apparently. And we wanted to try to turn it into something it simply wasn't and was never going to be. And yeah, I don't know, man. I gotta say, like, that was a bizarre thing. I still, no matter what, at the end of the day, when I look back at 2021 and Blue Box Game Studios and Abandoned, I will always think to myself that there's something just wrong with that situation. There's something that, to me, is still not been explained. And the thing that hasn't been explained is simply this: who really did this? Was it me? Like, was it me, or was it all of us, or was it just Hassan Karaman? Because the thing that always gets me when I look back on that is like, dude, this was not something that just went on for a week, not even just 2 weeks. This went on for months, and the whole industry was captivated by it. Like, the whole, yeah, I guess it could just simply be like, dude, it became its own thing. And it's so interesting, man. It really did become its own thing. And it was because of people like me. It was because of Hassan Karaman continuing to, or whoever was behind it, right? Putting stuff out there to make people like me continue to believe. It was many other people. It was just the internet itself, like, we almost like transformed it into something. And I will maintain this, that at the, I gotta stop saying at the end of the day, by the end of all of this, what I think will get out of it, even if the game doesn't exist, if the game isn't real, hold on one sec. I just hit my, what I think we will get out of all this, and what I think we can all kind of agree on, is that even if the game isn't real, even if it was just a crazy, like, lie and things just really were not at all what we wanted them to be, I think we can always look at this and think, it is absolute proof of what can happen when you mix your hopes and your dreams and your desires and your wants for certain things with with something that isn't tangible, with something that isn't proven, right? And like that to me is thing, because I look back and I think about all the streams, but most importantly, I think about where my head was with all of it at the time. And I'm telling you now, like, it really was very much, I truly believe that I am right, that I know what Blue Box Game Studios is, that there's just too much evidence, and there was like no room for me to believe that this couldn't be it, right? And dude, it really did get to me. And I know it sounds silly looking back, but anybody who was there, like, I was all in on this, and it really, like, I just, when it started to kind of hit me that, like, dude, it's not, bro. Like, it's just a coincidence. That blew my fucking mind, bro. Like, I legit was like, no way. Like, it's impossible. Like, it can't just be a coincidence. There's too many coincidences. Like, how is this possible? It really, like, broke my mind and my perception of, like, holy shit, I really got played here. And I will say that if there's a lesson that I learned from it, like, I do feel like I absolutely learned a valuable lesson from the whole thing. And that is that, it's not to be negative and to always assume that, like, hey, don't hope for anything good, don't have any expectation, whatever. No, it's not that. It's just, it really made me realize about myself that I got to be careful with how quick I am to believe something is what it says it is or what it seems to be. And to be a little bit more skeptical, to be a little bit more, less involved in my own, like, oh yeah, dude, I totally, to always be ready to view things from a completely different angle. I've always kind of prided myself to a degree in being able to do that, to evaluate something from multiple angles, not just one. But in this situation, what it revealed to me about myself is it turns out there are scenarios where I will absolutely only see things in tunnel vision. And I got caught up in it, man. And don't get me wrong, like, it wasn't all bad. In fact, most of it was pretty fun. Like, I think that's what made it so easy is I had these streams where at times thousands of people would join and we would all just be kind of like trying to solve this, ironically enough, as much as I hate puzzles, solve this puzzle or what was perceived to be a puzzle or a conspiracy or something. It was really fun. But then it became something else. And I'm sorry, man. Like, I'm going to be honest. It is a little bit funny to hear Kojima say, like, I get like 20 to 30 pictures and collages of Hassan Karaman every day. It's quite a nuisance. I think people need to acknowledge the fact that Kojima laughed when he said that. He literally laughed out loud when he said that. So I don't think he's mad or upset. And I think, if anything, Kojima absolutely took the high road, and I think he did the right thing. Kojima was basically, look, Hassan, look, Blue Box Game Studios, you guys have the attention, and you got that attention off of me because people thought you were me, and some people still do think you're me. And he's like, use it, man. Like, use it to try to make a great game. You have the attention, and he basically just said, like, look, we both got attention from this. Let's try to make the best of it. And I'm like, damn, dude, there was a lot of things that Kojima could have said. Kojima could have said, like, yeah, I don't think they have a game, and I think they're frauds, and I think they're whatever. He could have really, reamed them for what they did. And instead he was like, look, there you go. Matthew Francis, get viral lemons, make viral lemonade. There you go, man. That's basically what Kojima said. In so many words. And it was just, what was interesting too is Jeff Keighley was talking about it. Jeff Keighley was part of the conversation, and Jeff also admitted, and this makes me feel a lot better because I realized, because I knew, I'm like, it's not just me here. Even Jeff Keighley, while talking to Hideo, said, yeah, I started to kind of get involved, and he said he got multiple messages from Hassan Karaman, and Hassan was saying he wants to show off his game at one of his shows, but every time he would ask him to show him something, he never got anything. And then at one point, Jeff even said straight to Hideo Kojima's face that, people were thinking, like, is this a Moby Dick Studio situation again? Is Hideo creating a fake studio? And he was like, even I started to wonder, like, is Hideo doing this? Is this Hideo? Like, and I just, maybe he's really doing this and nobody else knows. And I'm like, bro, Hassan got Jeff fucking Keighley, Hideo's personal friend, that he could probably call on the phone and ask, to think, at least momentarily, that, wait, is this him? So I don't feel so bad, because it's like, I've never met Kojima in my life. And, this dude is good personal friends with him, and even he's questioning it. So that's the thing that is the thing that I will always hold on to, that will just forever be like, you know what? I didn't solve this case. You know what show I just got done watching on Netflix, guys? Has anybody here been watching? It was like trending on Netflix. It still might be. The Watcher. I just finished that show last night, and I swear I'm not gonna spoil anything in the show, but there is one point in the show where the husband is basically losing his mind, and he's got all this stuff up on the wall trying to solve something, and he's talking to his wife, and he's like, I got this, and what about this and that? And I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm looking at myself last year with Blue Box. But I feel like, yeah, dude, I don't know. Thank you, dude. Super horror bro. I called you super honor bro. Super horror bro says, hey man, keep up the great work. Love your content. I really appreciate that, man. That's a really generous donation. It's a really generous super chat. I really, really can't express enough how thankful I am for that. I'm glad you enjoy the content, bro. Anytime I get these very generous super chats, whether it's $5, $2, or $50, people saying they enjoy my content, I will just say that it does mean a lot. It does mean a lot, and I do try my best. And something I didn't say at the beginning of my podcast that I usually say at the beginning of every podcast is I thank you guys for everybody who donates to Super Chat, for everybody who watches the content, if you watch or engage with any of the ads. I say this because I literally couldn't do what I do here each week, which I love doing, the podcast, hanging out with you guys. I couldn't do it without you guys. So really, sincerely, thank you so much for that, Super Horror Bro. It means a lot. So big shout out. But yeah, dude, I just, I don't know that there's much else to say. Like, I will say this. I know for a fact there are still some people who think that this is still Kojima, that this is all part of it. Guy, like, look, I'm not going to be rude or anything, but look, all I'm going to say is if you think that, it's probably best to keep it to yourself at this point. I'm just being honest, because it's like, it to me, and I say this as somebody who really believed, it's over, dude. Like, it's over. And I say that because the number one thing to help kind of like, if you still believe for some reason, and I know I got some hardcore believers on my channel here, what I'll say is, dude, there's no world in which this is like it's no. There's just no world in which this comes out and Kojima's like, I got you. Like, people would be like, what? Like, I would have to sue him. I'd have to sue Kojima for mental damage. You see what I'm saying? Kidding, of course. Maybe I'm not, though. I don't know. But it's like, yeah, no, this would never be taken this far. Something that's supposed to be like an ARG or a ruse, or it's gotten taken to a point where it's like, dude, like some real damage has probably been done, at least psychologically, even if it's like the developers or something. So yeah, that to me, this truly, honestly, to me, this feels like the complete closure of the Blue Box Game Studios and Abandoned saga. And it feels like the end of an era here. And the final thing I'll say on Blue Box and Abandoned is, again, I said it in my video, I'll reiterate it. I have no idea if they have an actual game or not. I think it's easy to believe that they don't at this point. All I will say is that if they happen to actually be making a game and that trailer drops, like if the Abandoned app updates at some point, I'll definitely check it out, man. I'm not gonna have any hard feelings because I just feel like it's not worth it. Like, I know people still are nasty and they're mean, and it's like, I'm not saying that some of it maybe, I'm not saying it's deserved. I understand why people would be so upset, and why they would be like, F off, I get that. But to me, this is just something that I've been I was so a part of to a degree that absolutely, if I find out like next month or next year at some point the Abandoned app gets updated, yeah, I'm going to check out what it is. I don't know, regardless of what it may be, I'm going to check it out. Did I delete the app? Yeah, I did delete the app. The app has been deleted, but it'll always be there apparently. So it's not going anywhere. So we'll see. We'll see what Abandoned, if it's real, ends up actually being. I will say though, guys, at the end of the day, maybe Blue Box really did deliver what they said they were going to, because maybe it was in front of us the whole time. Blue Box Game Studios and Hassan promised to deliver abandoned the real-time abandoned experience, right? Real-time experience. I feel like that's exactly what we got, bro. I feel like that's exactly what we got, and they didn't ask for any money. You know, they didn't ask us to pay for anything. They just said, here's. It's so hard not to feel like it was just one giant troll, man. Like, do you guys remember? I just want to reminisce. Just humor me a little bit longer here. Do you remember the day that they dropped the teaser trailer? Do you guys? Because I remember that day, and my God, bro, like it. Everybody was so interested. They were like, "What is this, bro? What is it?" Hassan had the entire gaming industry in the palm of his hand, and he released a 4-second trailer of a dude walking across a wooden floor, bro. And we have not gotten anything since then. Like, it's just so crazy. It's so crazy. Well, it is what it is, I guess. I will say it was nice to finally hear Kojima and his thoughts on it. It was nice to hear that. Hold on, Hassan's busting into my room telling me I gotta stop talking about it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. What a weird. What was that? That was my wife opening the door because I guess the cats were trying to get back in, and my one cat, Leia, she gets so weird where like she'll just sit by the door and claw at it, and then if you open the door to let her in, she gets all paranoid all of a sudden where she's like she thinks you're gonna do something to her. It's like we're just go in. You're asking to go in, just go in, and instead she gets all weird and thinks somebody's suddenly out to get her, and like I don't know. My cat's a little paranoid, frankly. So, I guess my wife was just trying to let the cat in, and the cat was being a weirdo. Anyway, but Axis Hawk, I do apologize because you did give me a super chat asking me my thoughts on Overdose, and instead I talked about Blue Box. But that's another thing we have to discuss here is, yeah. So, how many of you guys in the chat, let me know, how many of you saw the 2-minute, it's like 2.5 minutes of Overdose footage that leaked? How many of you guys saw this? Because to me, this was a bizarre leak. Excuse me. You're saying my wife equals Hassan. Yeah, no, I was saying it was Hassan because it's like, you know, people back when we were talking about Blue Box in the day, like people thought like I was in on it or something, and I admit I kind of played into that a little bit to add to it, but at the end of the day, it's like no, I have no idea what's going on. But yeah, so I watched this 2.5 minute footage. The funniest thing about this leaked footage is, yeah, the person who leaked it was half naked. They were recording. It looked like they had a tablet or a desktop screen or something, and they were recording it through their phone, and you could see the reflection of the person, and they're just half naked, just sitting there like, and it was just so funny. And at the very end of the footage, the funniest thing about it was there's supposed to be kind of a jump scare at the end where Margaret, I think her name is Margaret Qualley, she basically got, I guess, like whatever the demon or the entity was, it got her, and she screamed real loud, and then it said game over, and the screen just went black, and you just see the dudes, like, I mean, I'm going to be honest, he didn't look like the most in-shape person, just sitting there, and it was just so funny, because people were like, like, Kojima does it again, like, that really was terrifying. But the game itself, to me, we cannot definitively say that this is the Xbox game. However, it's looking like a 95% chance this is the Xbox game because of the nature of not only the gameplay, but the way it was being presented. It looks like it's a game that can be played on any device. And I was trying to figure out, it looks like it's touch controls. Like I couldn't even figure out what the gameplay is. Like it looked like she was just kind of walking around with a flashlight, and I'm assuming you're controlling her. Like from based off of what I saw, it looked like you're controlling the character, but then there's like a red circle that pops up on screen, and it looks like maybe you have to click it or touch it, and then it like kind of, I guess she looks in that direction. Frankly, I don't know what the hell I was looking at. I can't say if I'm excited for it or not because I just don't know what it is. It definitely seems like a horror game. And because of the nature of the way it's being presented, it seems like it's a cloud-based game. I told you guys, like, I'm a big fan of Kojima Productions. I'm not going to lie, though. I'm not going to lie to you and pretend that I'm overly excited to play a cloud-based game. I'm just not. I am excited to see what this game could end up being because the thing about Kojima is there's likely going to be some kind of twist to it. Somebody asking if I can show the leak here. No, I definitely do not want to do that. That's asking for trouble. This is something that's not supposed to be out there. And I feel like with this game that it's going to have some type of twist, but at the same time, like, I don't know. It just, I got to see it. I got to see it like officially. I need to see Kojima Productions announce this game officially and put it out there officially to be able to judge it. Because I just don't know what I'm really looking at. And I will also add to that, there is I'm going to be honest, like my initial reaction to seeing that footage, I was kind of underwhelmed. Like I'm like I don't know that I'm really, and the reason why I was underwhelmed is because I don't know that I'm feeling too great about watching this game being presented this way, where it's like it's clearly like running on a mobile device, or it can be played. It's a cloud game, like it can be played on anything. And that just like the reason why that doesn't get me that excited is because it's not, I don't know. You're saying what exactly is a cloud-based game? I guess like the best way to explain it is it's a game that's being developed, I would assume, in the cloud. So it's a game that's streamed. You don't download it. It's just a game that's streamed, and it's that's what it is. It's just a game that's streamed. And I get, actually now that I think about it, that could mean the opposite. That could mean it could be a very big game. But if I'm not mistaken, Kojima did say that he's working on something pretty small. So the whole vibe I'm getting with this leak is that this is the Xbox game and it's really not a big title. That's the vibe I'm getting. I'm not saying that I'm for sure certain about that, but that's the feeling I'm getting. Z Beast, you're saying, what are your thoughts on Socom making a comeback? I don't think it's making a comeback, dude. That's the thing, is I don't think Socom, unfortunately, I don't think it's making a comeback. If it is, there's no indication that it's making a comeback. I thought for a while it might be, but we're not there yet, man. But what I will say is I would love to see Socom come back. Absolutely. Valerie Fox is Aloy. You're saying, so I can play it on my phone. Yeah. That's the goal. The goal is you can play this on pretty much any device. Although, ironically enough, it probably won't be playable on PlayStation. But you can play it on your phone, maybe your TV, obviously on a PC, an Xbox. If this was the PlayStation game, I would be shocked. I would be shocked because I'm like, what is this game? Isn't it kind of crazy how all this stuff happens in a matter of the same week, though? Am I the only one? Maybe I am the only one, but like, so you're telling me within the span of 1 week, Overdose footage leaks, Kojima finally acknowledges Blue Box Game Studios on his podcast and all the rumors that have been circulating the past year, and Blue Box finally comes out of hiding to respond. It's like, Super Horror Bro, you're saying thoughts on the next PS showcase. Is it happening at this point? Well, I did talk about this a little bit earlier, but I don't think so, no. my honest thoughts on the PlayStation Showcase, I don't think there is going to be a showcase in 2022. I did say earlier that if there is a showcase announced at this point before the end of this year, I would be shell-shocked. I would be completely shocked because I'd be like, wow, did not see that coming. And I know some people are like, oh, well, maybe PlayStation Experience will return in December. I don't think so, guys. It could. Like, I don't want to say definitively, but to me, it seems Sony's focus in December is absolutely on the Game Awards and trying to get God of War to be the game of the year. And maybe we could get a big announcement at the Game Awards. But frankly, Super Harbro, I do not anticipate a PlayStation showcase this year. And I think the soonest we could hope to get one is in early 2023, maybe like February. So, yeah, speaking of PSVR2, yeah, what a strange situation for PSVR2. I want to talk about that next. RU46N2 Ray, you're saying the game was the game that leaked you're referring to was the Stadia cloud-based title now for Xbox. Yeah, that's what it seems like, man. At this point, it seems pretty clear that Kojima's going to reveal, whenever he reveals his PlayStation game, I'm 100% convinced at this point it is Death Stranding 2. I would be very surprised if it was something other than Death Stranding 2. It would be a welcome surprise, for sure. I'm going to lean back here a little bit. Hope you guys don't mind. My lower back's been killing me these days, man. I don't know. Maybe I think I've been doing too many bent over rows. I don't know. I've always had a bad lower back. So, yeah, just to kind of conclude the conversation about... Oh, one other thing. Kojima apparently confirmed that he's not going to be acquired. So, I'm glad he nipped that in the bud and just made it clear that, guys, we're not getting acquired. He's been made multiple offers already. You assume from both Sony and Microsoft. High offers, a lot of money. And he's saying, as long as I'm alive, I think we're going to be independent. So I'm glad he said that because that means that any rumors we hear of Kojima being acquired, not going to happen. You know, I will say, man, like, if there's one thing that, and this is the last thing I'll say before I move on. The one thing that I found interesting about Kojima's recent podcast is, you know, there's been a lot of rumors about a single studio and a single individual when he has a whole 30-minute podcast dedicated to acknowledging all of these different rumors. And it's one of the funniest things he said. It's not funny. It's only funny because it came true. Was in his podcast, he said, you know, there are going to be outlets that take, because he was talking about fake news and journalistic integrity, how like is non-existent anymore. He said there are going to be outlets that take what he says on that podcast, and even though he's being extremely clear and concise with everything, like he couldn't be more clear. I want to make that known. If you listen to Kojima's podcast, he couldn't be more clear that, you know, look, I'm giving it to you straight. You can't really misconstrue this. But he did say that people are still going to do it. You know, they're going to take certain words he says, certain sentences, and they're going to construct titles. And that's exactly what happened. And I'm going to go on a little rant here. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've went on a proper rant. And I'm going to go on a quick rant here because it's bullshit, man. Like, people literally, Kojima made people look like fools. Rightly so. People made themselves look like fools because I saw multiple fucking headlines written up about what Kojima said about Blue Box, and you know what they go with? Let me bring it up. I want to make sure I do it justice and read it word for word. You know what they go with? Oh, why can't I find it? Of course. Hideo Kojima breaks silence on abandoned conspiracies. Quote, it's really quite a nuisance. End quote. Like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? That's your headline? That's your headline? Because he said getting photos of Hassan Karaman is a nuisance and he laughed about it? Dude, I gotta tell you, man, this is the type of shit that bothers me. This is the type of shit that bothers me because it's like, you know what that headline doesn't convey? Literally whatsoever. Whatsoever. That headline doesn't convey the point that Kojima made. And the point he made when talking about Blue Box is, you know what? I hope that they can take the game, take the attention, and do something good with it. Who is the publication? In this case, it's VGC, but it's VGC isn't the only one. VGC isn't the only one. I've seen multiple headlines that they saw that Kojima said the words Blue Box. No, Kojima said the words abandoned, and he said the word nuisance in the same sentence. And a lot of outlets decide that that's what they're going to run with. And to me, that's completely disingenuous and that's bullshit because that's not what he was like. That is probably the most irrelevant part of what he said. Truthfully. You're asking if I can. I'll turn it off for now because it has slowed down. If it speeds up again, I'll turn it back on. Saying you'd love a Death Stranding 2 with underwater exploration. It could ramp up the horror aspects tenfold. Absolutely, dude. I hope if Death Stranding 2 is real, which I think it is, I hope it's more horror based. That'd be great. But seeing these headlines just really bothered me because it's like, I saw people on Twitter. Responding. Like, here's the thing I want to point out. All right, here's the thing I want to point out, and I want to make this clear. I want to make this as clear as I possibly can. VGC, I have a problem with in particular because their article on Twitter kind of blew up. That headline I just read you, where they quote, "It's quite a nuisance." That's the fucking quote that they put in their title. They knew it would catch everybody's attention, and it worked, and it kind of blew up on Twitter. And I noticed this, and I was like, I listened to the podcast, not really sure why that's what you got out of it. So I went into the replies and I started seeing people, and you know what it fucking did? Is it just bred more negativity. It brought out the worst types of people. I even saw people in there blaming me. And I'm like, maybe you people don't get away from these fucking clickbait articles. Go listen to the damn podcast. It's free. And if Kojima was trying to make a point, and I think Kojima was trying to make a point with this podcast and the way it was constructed, he absolutely made his point. And I wonder if anybody realizes that. Because he was sure to emphasize the podcast is free. It's 30 minutes. All you have to do if you want to know what's going on and what Kojima is saying is just go listen to it for free for 30 minutes. And you can hear word for word what this man has to say. And he said people are going to write clickbait articles and people are going to fall for it. That's exactly what happened. And I was just so pissed because it's like, dude, this man tried to turn this into a positive. This is the dude that if anybody has a right to turn and say, fuck you to this situation or point the finger and blame, it was Kojima. And instead of doing that, he took the high road and he said, you know what? Blue Box, Hassan, the rumors, let's put it all behind us. You got the attention now. I have the attention. Let's create something great. Let's make the best of this. No one will write that headline though, because I guess it doesn't get the clicks. And to me, this is just what's wrong. This is what's wrong with the world today. And I guess maybe it's always been wrong, but it's like you find literally the one negative thing. And I have to emphasize, because people were really holding on to this, man. The article tried to convey that Kojima was pissed, that Kojima was annoyed. Let me tell you, Kojima was so pissed off and he was so annoyed that he laughed out loud when he talked about getting pictures of Hassan. He laughed. Just goes to show how intricately people and how meticulously the internet, people who have credibility, they meticulously remove the context and they frame something in such a very specific way. And I know I'm going to move on to, we're going to talk about PlayStation VR2 next, but I just had to go on that rant because that really, I got to say, like, that really bothered me. And it really bothered me because I just didn't see anybody coming out and basically pointing out, like, but guys, like, Kojima's, he's pretty chill here. Like, he's actually not mad at all. He wants the game to succeed. And no one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear that. That's fine. It's fine that nobody wants to hear that. I get it. But what's not fine is that the people who are supposed to be more responsible, the people who are supposed to be at the front line reporting on this stuff, relaying it to people, rather than thinking, we're not putting stuff out that we know people, isn't, rather than putting stuff out that just isn't true or genuine, we're just gonna feed the machine here. Sad day, man. Anyway, rant over. We're going to move on to the next topic. Next topic, let's see. PSVR2. So, yeah, PSVR2, what's going on here, guys? Did anybody else anticipate that Sony was going to reveal PSVR2 in a blog post? You're saying fake outrage for PSVR2. It depends on what you're talking about. It depends on what people are necessarily outraged about. So for me, before I talk about what I've been reading or seeing or the reactions, I'll just give you my thoughts and opinion. Because even in my video that I made talking about it, I didn't even really give my thoughts on it. Number one, the price. I have to admit, the price was a little bit surprising to me for one reason and one reason only. And this is the only reason. I thought it was going to be 500. I thought it was going to be 500. And I thought that because I thought that's the highest Sony could go. And I thought in my mind, there's no way Sony could go higher than that. And they went higher by $50. Now, to me, is $550 too much? Well, no. It depends. Well, I mean, for me personally, it might be too much. I'm still kind of wondering if I'm going to be able to buy PSVR 2. I'm going to try, but it's an expensive headset. Like $550 is a lot of money for something that is, for most people, you're going to need a PS5. However, when you look at the specifications that are in PSVR 2, when you look at what's on offer, $550 is a great price for what you're getting. But we have to acknowledge that it's still a pricey product. And exactly, like not PSVR, all VR is expensive. We have to acknowledge that. Like, VR is an expensive hobby. It is. But you also have to acknowledge that, at this point in time, to me, it makes sense why Sony decided to release this in a blog post. Sony decided that, you know what? This is a lot of money. We know that not everybody's going to be thrilled to find out that PSVR 2 is more expensive than the PS5 console. Even if it's only by $50, they knew that people weren't going to be too thrilled. So they're like, the best way we could mitigate this, let's put this news out in a blog post the day before. I think the day before Ragnarok's reviews come out, because I think Sony was afraid. I think Sony was afraid that they were going to get backlash, and I don't think they did. Like, I think for people who want PSVR 2, I don't think anybody who was actually fully anticipating this headset was surprised at the price. I don't think so, because anybody who's paying close enough attention should know that the specs in PSVR2 are pretty beastly, and you're getting a whole package here. You're not just getting the VR headset, you're getting the controllers. You know, it's gonna bump the price up a little bit, and so for me, the pricing was not surprising. I'm going to be honest, though. It did make me feel like, man, it's going to be... You know what was surprising to me? Not the pricing, the games. To me, the games, I was kind of shocked at like, so wait, hold on. Sony, you're telling me the only like bigger VR game that's going to be there at launch and around launch is Horizon Call of the Mountain, because I looked at like a lot of the other games and I'm like, these are not really doing it for me. Some of them look like they could be pretty good, but I was really expecting like some new launch games or games that were going to be coming out around the launch window to come out. And even that game, Firewall Ultra, which is a game that I'm looking for. Yeah, and there was no Half-Life Alyx. That was surprising as well. I was very surprised that wasn't announced, because apparently that's a thing that's Sony's rumored to be working on. I have to say, it's not the price of the VR headset that's not doing it for me. It's the games. It's the lineup. Like, I'm not seeing anything that's really getting me like, yes. And Horizon Call of the Mountain is the only thing that to me comes off as like, okay, that looks like it could be a must play. But I don't know, man. If I'm being 100% honest and transparent, I just don't know that I'm sold on it yet. And it doesn't mean that I don't want to play it. It doesn't mean that I have no interest in it. It just means that I might wait on it. I have to, as we get closer, I'll decide, and Sony has plenty of time to continue to sell me on it before launch. But for me, the hype just isn't there. I mean, yeah, RE8, I think that's a really big one too. And that I think will be obviously a standout game on PSVR2. But I was really anticipating that Sony was going to have like another new game, like a bigger VR game. So it's not that I have any problem with it. I think PSVR2 is fine for what it is, and I think it actually looks like it's going to be pretty great. I just don't know that this headset's going to do as well as Sony wants it to. That's my thing with this. I think that Sony is releasing a pretty, relatively pricey VR headset. Look, for me, $550 is a lot of money to drop on a VR headset, frankly. That's a lot of money for me. And it's just crazy to think that, like, I don't know, Sony's apparently planning on selling like 2 million units, within a launch window. I don't know, man. That's I don't know. It's hard to say. You're saying, Bill, you definitely need to experience VR to understand how groundbreaking it is. And that's the thing. I don't doubt you. And I have a friend who's 100% buying PlayStation VR 2 the day it drops. And what I might do is I might just ask him, like, dude, can I try it out? Can I borrow it? He didn't buy PSVR 1, but he's all in with VR 2. And because if that's true, like, I feel like what I'm going to need is to experience it then. Because that could be it. It could really be one of those things where it's like, dude, the way you're going to get sold on PSVR 2 is by trying it. And I'm not the type of person that's going to feel comfortable dropping hundreds of dollars to try it and not know. So I might just ask my buddy who's going to have it day one, yo, man, you want to hang out? Can play, let me try it out, see what it's like. And who knows, man, if I experience it and I'm like, holy shit, yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I'm still torn on it. I want to. What I'm curious to know more than anything is what other type of VR experiences does Sony have in the pipeline? Because I do remember reading a report that Sony is trying to get like they're not trying to dedicate a lot of their resources to just making big VR games. I think Sony is trying to avoid that. I think they realized that they would be stretched a little too thin with PSVR1. They realized that. They realized that with PlayStation Vita. Sony realized that in order to support multiple platforms, with their studios, it's going to stretch them thin. The rumor was that what Sony wants to do is try to make it so that they have a VR experience that can be it's basically a byproduct of a big PS5 game. Like this game is a big PS5 game that you can buy standalone on your PS5, but it has either a VR experience for it or it can just simply be played in VR. Like it has a VR mode. I don't know if that's going to work for them or not. That sounds like to a degree a development nightmare. But yeah, I'm going to also be real with what I'm about to say. I'm going to be totally honest. There's not a lot of hype for PSVR2. There's not. I'm not saying that matters. Like if you're excited for PSVR2, and I see a lot of you saying, dude, I can't wait. I'm there day one. Don't let what I'm saying have any impact on you. Be excited. But just from my evaluation from the outside looking in, I've been covering PlayStation for a while now, and I cover it I cover PlayStation very closely. You guys know this. There's like no hype for this headset. And when I say hype, I'm referring to it really is going to be a niche product. And if that's why I'm saying, like, if Sony actually sells 2 million units in the launch window, I would be shocked. It makes me think they might still have something hidden up their sleeve that they want to reveal. I'm not entirely sure about that. But there's just no hype for VR2 right now. And it's unfortunate because you could argue that there could be a lot more hype for it. And I think there's hype from VR enthusiasts. I think there's hype from PlayStation fans, like a certain portion of them. But let's not forget that PSVR 1, I think, only sold about 4 to 5 million units. And, it's just, to me, I was under the impression that Sony was going to go truly all in with VR2. Like they are going to make sure that everyone wants a PSVR 2, and that's not what they're doing at all. And that's not a bad thing. It just depends on what they're trying to achieve. To me, the feeling I'm getting with Sony and PlayStation VR 2 is simply that they want to make sure that people who are interested in VR keep that interest and are going to be there for PSVR 2. They want to make sure that anybody who was an investor in PSVR 1 is going to feel like there's enough incentive there for them to want to invest in the PSVR 2 and upgrade. And I think, if anything, Horizon Call of the Mountain is Sony's biggest push to try to appeal to a wider audience. And I don't know. We're going to have to see. Yeah, you're saying Resident Evil 4 Remake, PSVR 2. We'll have to see, man. We'll have to see, because that is something that's apparently going to happen, but it hasn't happened quite yet. We haven't seen it yet. All right, got to take a little hydration break here. Sorry, guys. Now I'm just going to read the chat for a moment. Definitely have to have I realize it's been like 3 hours and I haven't really drank much water. Sometimes I find myself getting very dehydrated by the end of my podcast. And I think that's why I feel so shitty sometimes by the very end of them, because I'm like not hydrating. All right. There we go. Hydration finished. Thank you guys for being patient there. Get this man some body armor. Yeah, I got to start buying those again. They're expensive, bro. Everything is going up in price. It sucks. I'm sure you all know that. All right, let me read Mark Lovin's super chat here. You're saying, my apologies if I talked or if this was talked about. Thoughts on the O in Overdose with the 3 dots? Why even have that when it was used in PT in Silent Hill regarding rumors? Yeah, so I wasn't going to bring that up because I'm trying to avoid going down any rabbit holes. But since you brought it up, Mark, just to backtrack for a moment here, talking about the Overdose leak, I do want to let everybody know that the circle, the O, I don't want to call it a circle, there are 3 dots in the O for Overdose. So you have the O and then 1, 2, 3 dots in it. That is something that does come from PT. It does. Overdose doesn't look like PT, but the loading screen, every time something was loading in PT, there was a O with 3 dots in it. It's the exact same. You can't deny that. Like, they are the exact same. Now, I'm not going to dive into the deep end and say, see, Kojima is working with Konami again, and they are making Silent Hill, and this is PT2 confirmed. I'm not saying that. What I honestly think it is at this point is I think it's just a design. I think it's a design that is associated with Kojima and his horror game. And yeah, and I think it was reused. I think there's something to it. I think he just liked it. And that's all I think it is. But yeah, it is understandable why some people would be like, wait, that was in PT. It's like, I'm gonna be truthful here. I think it's kind of a dumb thing to do, frankly. If Kojima's trying to get away from the PT rumors and Silent Hill stuff, and he wants people to focus on this as something new, I don't know why you would do that. Like, I don't think that's the smartest move, because it's like people are automatically going to associate this with PT. So I don't know that it's the smartest move to do that. Saying incorrect, this is part of the Silent Hill symbol that was there for... Wait, what? Are you sure? Oh, wait, yeah, you're right. True. Oh, okay, yeah. It is, but it's a little bit different. Okay, that's problematic. That's problematic, bro. Like, why are we doing that? Why are you doing that? I don't care. I'm done, bro. I don't care anymore. Dude, Kojima's code name, the code name for Kojima's Overdose could be Silent Hill, and I don't care, man. I don't care. It's over. That's weird, but it's over for me. It's Xbox's PT2 game. Why would he use that? Well, I don't know. Why would he use that? I don't know. Maybe he just wants to troll. Oh, man. All right. So, let's see. I got a couple more topics left, guys. So here are the topics that I have left. We could talk about Sony's earnings, how apparently they lost 1.9 million PlayStation Plus subscribers, but they made record profit. Let's talk about that. We're going to talk about that for a moment, because that, you want to talk about controversy being conjured up every week for PlayStation, where it's like, bad PlayStation news, bad Sony, bad PlayStation news. It's like, even during a week when we're getting Ragnarok reviews, people are trying hard, man. People are trying hard. Josh, you're saying, my bro was an Xbox dude and switched to PS5 this gen because he couldn't take it. He nearly tackled me yesterday with excitement, saying he pre-ordered God of War. Well, dude, there you go, man. I mean, maybe he'll still play Xbox. Space D says, losing players is the new good, LOL. No. We'll talk about it. We're going to talk about it. Well, hey, man. Hey, Josh, I'm glad your brother is joining us, because, I mean, look, dude, like, I think as many gamers as possible should try to get a PS5, man. Try to get a PS4 if you don't have one. Play Ragnarok. I think it'll be totally worth it. All right, so let's go over the situation here. Sony had their earnings and they announced that they lost 1.9 million PlayStation Plus subscribers. Okay. But what they also revealed is that they made record revenue and record profit. So let's break this down. The reason why they made record revenue and profit is simple. It's because of PlayStation Plus Extra and PlayStation Plus Premium and the current PlayStation Plus subscriber base deciding to upgrade. Now, Sony clearly knew that they were going to lose subscribers. In fact, I think they were anticipating they were going to lose quite a few subscribers. The reason why I say this is because when PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium launched in June of this year, Jim Ryan discussed this, and he literally said, sorry, I'm trying to make sure my face isn't covered. He literally said that the goal with PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium is to get current subscribers to upgrade. Their goal is not to get new subscribers. They would like to get new subscribers, but that's not their goal. This is incredibly important to pay attention to because I'm not saying that it's good that they lost subs. It's not. That's never good. You know, like there's no way around it. It's not good for a subscription service of any kind to lose subscribers. But context is important, and it's important to understand that PlayStation Plus was at an unnatural all-time high. What was that, like 48 million subs, roughly? Sony made it clear that, look, man, these numbers are going to go down because the pandemic greatly inflated PS Plus to a degree in which it was like, wow, this is kind of art. It's not necessarily artificial, but there's a reason why their numbers are skyrocketing. PS Plus, that is. It's because of the pandemic. That's why. And it's because there was just more engagement, essentially, that was forced. So ever since, the pandemic started to kind of come to an end, thank God, and, more things started opening up, Sony was well aware that they're going to lose subs. They're going to probably lose quite a few. And their way to mitigate that and make that maybe not hurt as bad, like there's a reason why Sony launched PS Plus Extra and Premium when they did. It's to soften the blow. If you're an investor, and that's the thing here, is like this information is relevant to investors and shareholders. If you're a shareholder, you probably don't feel that bad. Like you're probably a little nervous, like, okay, like a 1.9 million drop, that's not good. That can be concerning for sure, but you're making record profit? If anything, it just goes to show Sony knows what they're doing here, man. They know what they're doing here. They know what needs to be done. And I will say, if it keeps dropping, if they keep bleeding subs, that could be a problem. I don't think they're going to. Sony also did note that they're expecting to see much better results with their next earnings because it'll be coming off of the holiday period. Got Call of Duty, again, showing the importance of Call of Duty for PlayStation. They're feeling confident, but I also want to say that, like, the way I've seen some people talking about this, some people are talking about this like, oh my God, Sony is just, they're fucking done. PS Plus is done. They don't know what they're doing. It's like, guys, let's not lose the forest for the trees here. Let's just go over a couple of facts. Fact number one, PlayStation Plus, as far as I'm aware, is still the biggest gaming subscription in the world. I think it's pretty important to acknowledge that, yes, even though they did lose 1.9 million, they're still the biggest. And there's no one that's even close. Like, I just think people aren't using, it's not that they're not using their brains, it's just they don't have all the data. They don't care to have all the data. PS Plus is still number one, and it's number one by a lot, by quite a bit, by almost double. Almost double. All right. Number two, Sony has made it abundantly clear time and time again, PS Plus is not their number one priority. It's important. It's important, but it's not their number one priority. Jonathan says MBG is not capable of saying something negative / constructive about Sony. Actually, that's not true. I do have something I have to say that would be considered constructive criticism. But yeah, like Sony made it clear, look, they care about PS Plus. Obviously, that's a huge, huge revenue source for them. And you better believe if Sony loses another 2 million subs, they're going to start panicking a little bit. Yeah, that would be very bad. But it's not their main priority. Sony already made it clear that their priority in terms of areas of growth, continue with single player games. They'll continue to support PS Plus, obviously, but live service games to them are subscription services within themselves. Sony's main priority is we want to get people interested in live service games, not necessarily PS Plus. And that's an interesting thing to think because right now, PS Plus is not required for free-to-play games. And I wonder if Sony's going to change that. I really wonder if Sony's going to change that if they make some of their games free-to-play. Big Nab says Sony didn't get to the top by accident. No, they did not. No, they did not. This is where it's like, I know people want to see Sony. Some people want to see Sony fall and fail, and they'll make their mistakes. They'll have their roadblocks, but you're absolutely right. Like, dude, they know what they're doing here. All right. Like, they do know what they're doing. Now, the criticism I'm going to give here to Sony is simple. I think they could afford to do a little bit more with PS Plus. I don't think they have to go insane and go, scorched earth, especially since it's not their priority. But I do hope that what this means is they look, okay, look, we're making record profits. And that's great. That's very good. That's, if anything, that's more important, whether people know it or not. Like, making the money is what's important. And if anything, this highlights that, yeah, dude, a subscription service is not Sony's priority when they're really not that concerned, seemingly, about losing so many subs. But I think what's going to have to happen here is, I think Sony's going to have to do a little bit more work on PS Plus. I think this should be the not the kick in the ass necessarily, but the incentive to be like, look, if we don't try to sweeten the deal in some areas a little bit more. Like, what I mean to say is it's not about sweetening the deal, because a lot of people are very happy with PlayStation Plus Extra. A lot of people actually really do like PlayStation Plus. I think what Sony's going to have to do is they're going to have to think, how do we make PlayStation Plus more appealing to people who are not subscribed? I think it's as simple as that. Sony's going to have to ask that question. And I think they're going to work on it. I do. I think it's, PlayStation Plus is just like anything else. It's going to fluctuate. And I think that this is, can we also acknowledge that the past couple months, or the quarter, it was between July and September. Like, dude, there ain't nothing going on. There's nothing going on in this year. This year sucked. There's nothing going on between July and September, really. So it's like, people are like, dude, I'm going out, man. I'm saving my money. I'm not re-upping PS Plus. I'm telling you, man, Sony saw this coming from a mile away. They did. It's no coincidence that this is their most profitable PlayStation Plus has ever been. They knew what they had to do. Sony knew that we cannot rely on gaining millions of new PlayStation Plus subscribers. If anything, they knew we're going to lose them. So what we need to do is we need to make more money off of our current PS Plus base. How do we do that? Well, let's introduce some new tiers. Granted, yeah, I think Sony needs to do a shit ton of work with premium. They do. I think Sony needs to do a shit ton of work with premium. But I wanted to just briefly cover this topic because I saw quite a few hot takes. Dude, I'm going to be honest. I've talked to you guys before about Twitter. I've talked to you about Twitter, and I've talked in the past about like taking breaks from it. Dude, ever since Elon Musk bought Twitter, like I don't care about Elon Musk. I don't pay attention to that guy. I know everybody has their opinion on Elon Musk and whatever. Like, I'm totally indifferent. Like, I don't pay attention to him. Oh my God, dude. If there's anything that gets me to stop using Twitter, it's the fact that everyone and their fucking mother and their grandmother won't stop talking about Elon Musk buying Twitter. It's like, that's what Twitter turned into. It's fucking nauseating. Like, I'm just trying to go on to get some good info to see if there's anything relevant or interesting when it comes to gaming news. And all I'm reading are people talking about Elon Musk, Twitter. I'm just like, oh my God, dude, like, I can't do this. Like, I can't do this. I see people announcing their arrival and their departure like, you know, like it's an airport out here. And I'm like, this is so dumb. Easy solution, get off Twitter. And that's the thing. I don't want to contribute to that. I don't want to be in one of those people that's like, I'm leaving Twitter. Like, who the fuck cares if I leave Twitter, bro? It's meaningless. Like, it's meaningless. I'm just, honestly, the only reason I'm there is because it can be useful sometimes. On rare occasion, it can be useful. Get some good information, get some good insight from people that I may be interested in hearing from. 99% of the time, though, like, it just sucks ass. And I just feel like it's just, you know, I don't know. I don't know what Elon Musk is planning on doing on Twitter. Like, I want to believe it could get better. But yeah, you're saying use alerts. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Like, it's partially my fault too. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm not to blame. Like, I'm the one that picks up my phone or goes on my desktop and scrolls Twitter. And nobody's making me do that. But I am just kind of shocked where it's like, it's just gotten real bad the past 2 weeks. Like to the point where it's like, this is insufferable. This is insufferable. Like, I can deal with a lot of BS, man, but this is like, I can't, no matter how many times I click, I don't want to see this. Don't recommend this. It just keeps feeding me more. Please make it stop. Please make it stop. Social media. In case you guys can't tell, I am burning out fast. I am fucking burning out fast. I don't know why. I'm like, I don't know if it's because like it's daylight savings. Didn't I get an extra hour of sleep? I'm burning out fast here, man. You know, I've thought about, I don't know. I don't think I could make it happen. It would be too messy and it would be ridiculous. But man, there was this one time, and you guys might remember this back, I think it was in 2020, build up to the PS5. I ended up splitting my podcast into 2 episodes in the same day because something happened with the stream the first time. I forget what it was, but I had to end it. And I was like an hour and a half later, and everybody was like, well, I guess that's it. I guess it's over. And then, excuse me, I was like, no, I'm coming back. I'm finishing the podcast, and I had like a part 2. And I'm almost wondering, man, because like I always have so much to say, and I can never get through all my topics. I'm about to start breaking my podcast up into part 1 and part 2 every Sunday or something, where I take like an intermission. I end the first part, you know, of the podcast, take an intermission, take a little break, and then come back and finish. Because it's the energy levels. You can just tell the energy that I came to the podcast with isn't here now. Through almost 3.5 hours in. And I'm very tired. I don't know, man. I think maybe there's like a virus going around my house right now. Could be that. It's not that it's like I just need to like refuel and recharge the batteries, I guess. But I don't know. It could just be it's an off week today. That could just simply be that, because there are plenty of times where I'm going like 4 hours and I'm perfectly fine. But saying in the UK, you usually finish around 9 p.m. No, it's crazy to think. Yeah, time differences, man. You're saying, I mean, at this time frame, you have done one long podcast. Saying, MBG, I know you're opposed to it, but you need a partner in crime to bounce off of. That's why Sacred Symbols can go 4.5 hours every week. Talking by yourself that long is exhausting. It is, dude. It is. MBG, I've been rocking it out to the God of War Ragnarok soundtrack. Play it. You'll get pumped and excited. Yeah, dude. I'm going to start listening to the God of War Ragnarok soundtrack when I work out. Hell yeah, dude. It is really good. Need more natural light in the room. MBG nap live stream. Yeah, dude, I'm just going to have my intermission live. I'm just going to go make some food. I'm just going to chill here. I'm just going to eat a full meal. I don't think I could ever do that, man. I know that's totally accepted on the internet. I know for a fact that I could ask my wife to just straight up make dinner and bring the plate of dinner in here and just eat it while on stream, and people would be totally fine with it. Like, people would probably enjoy that. I know that's where we are at now in 2022 with the internet, and you guys are just so chill, but I don't think I could do that. I would feel so weird. I would feel so weird doing that. But it would, because it feels like, what is this? Is this even a podcast at this point? What is this turning into? You're saying, yeah, of course you can. Disable the camera, keep eating and talking. No, bro. If I did it, I would go all in. I'm not disabling anything. I'm putting my plate right on my desk. I'm talking while eating. I'm doing the whole thing. Man's got to eat. Yeah. Yeah. I did forget to ask, how was everyone's Halloween? Because this actually got me thinking. I went trick-or-treating with the family, but it got cut a little bit short because it started raining, which sucked. But we got some good candy. We got a good amount of candy. I'm about to start just bringing my candy onto the stream. All right, guys, you got me. I went out trick-or-treating for myself. All right. I went out trick-or-treating for myself. But I feel like Halloween always, it comes and goes too quick. Halloween's one of my favorite holidays. I just enjoy it, but it comes and goes too quick. I'm going to just because I'm just going to go totally off track here just for fun. So what's your favorite candy? What candy do you guys like? MVG dressed up as Jim Ryan for Halloween. Damn it. How'd you know? Godslayer Tactician, you're saying old God of War games had insane soundtracks, better in my opinion. I would have to listen to them and compare them, honestly. I would, because I can't say, but I'll take your word for it, man. I'll take your word for it, Godslayer. Do you know what like one of my favorite I love all candy. I have a horrible sweet tooth. It's really bad, actually. Like, I have the worst sweet tooth. But one of my favorite candy bars is 100 Grand. My wife always makes fun of me. She says I'm like an old man. But like, dude, 100 Grands, they're like kind of, I don't know, I don't see them that often. And I got I noticed there was a couple of those being handed out. I don't, from somebody in the area. And I was like, yo, these are the best. Like, 100 Grands are the best. You're saying it rained in Philadelphia on Halloween? Ah, that sucks. Yeah. Yeah, dude, they're super underrated. Haribo Sours are the best. Yeah, dude, I'm a sucker for gummies. You know what my biggest downfall is? Taffy. And you know what sucks about taffy is it's like literally the worst candy for your teeth. Like, I think taffy's possibly the worst thing for your teeth. And it's my favorite, dude. Oh man. I mean, I'll eat Laffy Taffy. I like Laffy Taffy, but I like the real stuff from like I don't know. Just from like shops that, make it. Not like oh, it's so good. I remember, dude, one year my wife got me like a big thing of taffy. I mean, this thing was big. This must have had like 300 pieces of taffy in it. And I'm like, you've made a big mistake here. I'm going to have to throw this out at some point. Because if I don't, I'm going to fucking eat it all. And I'm going to probably die. It was like real bad, man. And I'm not kidding. I had to throw like half of it out because I couldn't stop eating it. It was horrible. It was saltwater taffy, yeah. And I was just like, this dude, it was so bad. Do I like candy corn? I mean, I feel like candy corn is the most generic, basic candy. It's okay. It's pretty bland. But I'll eat it. Yeah, I'll eat a little bit of candy corn. I like Twizzlers too. I'm a big fan of Twizzlers. Twizzlers are one of my favorites. I like Reese's, obviously. I like the stuff that everybody else likes. I like M&Ms. I like the peanut butter. Yeah, peanut butter M&Ms. Yeah, that's where it's at. Dude, you could tell like my sugars are low right now. I literally am talking to you guys. I decided the topic is going to be candy. Skittles. Oh, dude, Skittles are a big weakness of mine too. They're a big weakness of mine. You know what kind of candy I don't like at all? I don't like sour candy. I don't like anything sour. I know that there are people they just love sour candy. Not a fan. Not a fan at all. I don't like anything sour, truthfully. I never understood why people like sour stuff. I could never understand it. What other candy do I like? I like gummy bears. I like gummy worms. I'll eat everything. I like all types of candy. Snickers. Yeah. Devil Shooter, you like sour stuff. Kit Kats. Yeah, Kit Kats. So Victoria says pepperoni sticks. I mean, it's not candy, but hell yeah. Let's go. Sour worms. I'm not a big fan of sour candy, but I do like some. Like sour worms, I will eat, yeah. Dark chocolate. Yeah, I haven't had dark chocolate in a long time. Jelly beans. Jelly beans are interesting. I like jelly beans, but not that much. Like jelly beans for me are very much a kind of candy where it's like I'm like indifferent to them. Like I won't seek them, but if they're like there. Yeah, dude, I know it's not candy, but somebody mentioned beef jerky. I think beef jerky is one of my favorite foods of all time. Like if it was like one of these situations where it's like you got to go to an island and you can only have one food, I feel like beef jerky would be pretty up there. I mean, like beef jerky isn't necessarily like a meal, it's not like I don't think it can replace a meal necessarily, but yeah, I think I've just decided that the end of this podcast is not going to have anything to do with video games. Do I like Butterfingers? Yeah. Butterfingers are pretty good. But they get stuck in my teeth real bad too, actually. Butterfingers. Somebody says, what's beef jerky? You really don't know what beef jerky is? Really? The skull in the chat's just like baked beans. Come on, nobody's mentioned corn yet. The unwinding portion of the podcast. Yeah, I guess it is, man. Chocolate strawberries. Scorn. Yeah. Well, you know what's good a lot of times, though, too? Just some basic Hershey's chocolate, I like Hershey Kisses. I think Hershey Kisses are really good. I always enjoyed them. Steak jerky. Dude, I'm so hungry right now. Holy shit. You ever have that happen to you? Like you don't like you're kind of hungry, but once you if you start talking about food and thinking about food, you just become really hungry, bro. That's what's happening right now. That's what's happening. I'm gonna have to. You know what it is? You know what I think I need to do? For a couple streams, a couple podcasts, I had my protein shake with me in my shaker, and I would kind of sip that throughout. I might start doing that again because I think that actually really helped me a lot. I'm trying to think of some other like not so well known candy that I really like, but I'm having trouble. MBG just eat. Yeah, you know what it is too. I've been working out a lot as well, and that's the thing. Like when you start exercising a lot, it makes you really hungry. Paul Gunnell said, member for 8 months, says sweet monkey nuts. I don't even know what that means, bro. I don't know what that means. Yeah, I have such a... You know what else is a big weakness of mine? Ice cream. I think I've talked about that before. I just... Like, I have to actually control myself with ice cream. I get nervous because, like... I don't know, man. I don't know what's worse for me, taffy or ice cream. It's so bad. Like, I'm going to end up giving myself heart disease one day. Yeah, dude, Ben and Jerry's. Oh, god damn. Like, it's deadly. It's deadly. Have you ever looked at the nutritional facts of Ben and Jerry's? If you eat a whole pint, oh my god. Oh my god, dude. It's deadly. But it is, dude, it's like drugs. It's like drugs. Is the stream freezing? I don't know. You guys having any issues with the stream? I mean, I'm going to be ending it any second here now. I would talk about another PlayStation topic or a video game topic, but I feel like at this point, should I even bother? Right? You know, one of the only other topics I have listed here that we didn't really cover is about the Activision thing again and Phil Spencer and comments. And I'm just like, I just can't do it. I'd literally rather talk about ice cream. I'm not kidding. I would rather talk about candy and ice cream and food and anything else. I just can't talk about it anymore, man. Somebody says, Terrence Williams says, talk about it. Well, I did bring it up, and I'm not going to talk about it deeply, but all you need to know, because you already know, it's just redundant. Phil just basically said, he just simply said, our intent is to keep releasing Call of Duty as long as PlayStation consoles are out there. Our intent is to treat it like Minecraft. That's all he said. He said it again. It's like, okay. Meanwhile, Sony's out here like celebrating and bragging that Modern Warfare 2 is the biggest Call of Duty launch on PlayStation ever. It's like, okay, we get it. Like, you haven't said a word about your first party games and how they're selling, but you're definitely talking about how well Call of Duty's selling. So fucking weird, dude. I'm going to be honest, it bothers me a little bit. I know Sony's desperate to keep Call of Duty on, but God, man. Really? Like, you're bragging about how well this game's selling on whatever. I mean, I guess it's expected. It's Modern Warfare 2. Taryn says Sony needs to shut up and make a COD killer. Yeah, I will just say I do think Sony continues to sell themselves short. Like, I'm supposed to believe that Sony, one of the biggest video game publishers in the world, you don't have the means to make a Call of Duty competitor? I call bullshit on that. Might not be easy, might be risky, might take a while, but come on. Sony's selling themselves short. They definitely are. Sony's got to dig deep. I mean, you know, I look at it from like a lazy person's point of view. If I was Sony, I would feel like, oh my God, you're telling me I'm going to have to make my own Call of Duty too? You know, sometimes I wonder if like that's the viewpoint that Sony has. They're like, come on, man. Like, we don't want to have to make this shit ourselves. You know, I wonder if that's really what it is like sometimes. I mean, obviously it's not, but it's funny to imagine it like that. But, well, guys, I don't know. I think that might have to be it for this episode of the podcast. It's weird. I thought I would have more to talk about, but I guess it's maybe the calm before the storm here, I would assume. I'm gonna have to. So obviously, with the next episode of the podcast, I'm gonna have to evaluate how I'm gonna handle talking about God of War. I will let you know right now, because I know that a lot of people aren't going to want me to talk about spoilers or anything. I don't know how I'm going to handle it exactly, but what I will tell you is that if I decide not to do a dedicated stream talking about God of War Ragnarok and I decide to save it for my podcast, it will tell you in the title of that podcast whether or not we are talking about spoilers for Ragnarok based off of what I played. You'll know. So you'll know either to click on it or not to click on it. You won't have to worry about clicking on the stream where I'm talking about God of War and being afraid like, oh, I just clicked on it and I'm being spoiled immediately. There was no warning. You'll see it in the title. So you won't have to worry about that. But again, I'll have to see how I'm going to handle it. But yeah, guys, I think that's going to do it for episode 133 of Press X Podcast. Another one in the bag. And, I put out a video yesterday, guys. Some really good news for God of War. More good news for God of War. Talked about a bunch of topics. Talked about Final Fantasy 16. So I want to encourage anybody, if you haven't watched that video yet, go check it out. People seem to be responding pretty positively to it. And I'm trying my best, as you can see, to make sure I produce content every single day. Trying my best to do that. So, I'm grinding it out. I look forward to all your support as always, and that's what motivates me. So before I go, I want to extend a big thank you to everybody who tuned into the podcast live, everybody who watches later. A big thank you, especially to everybody who donates a super chat, everybody who is a channel member. Again, could not do what I do here without your direct support. So thank you for that so much. And I do want to give a shout out to my members. We have the Play Has No Limits Plus tier. Big shout out to Chris B, Agile Ice 24, Shark Gomp, PlayStation Pete, Padsy, Pragmaticat, D Luffy, Skin Tight Salmon, Nakamichi, Hidden Leaf Tutaka, Whiskey Gaming, RE46 N2 Ray, and Josh Z. Thank you guys for supporting me at the highest tier. Then we have the second highest tier, Play Has No Limits. Shout out to Sir Speaks a Lot, Introvert Gaming Dude, Big Norman 0518, Michael McCon, MBG 9505, DG Ad, Josh McGill, Rune Gasoden, Space Gambler Jr., Lady K, Kevin Kahan, Narcan Blitzer, JDTV, Aaron S., Shaky Shako, Tyson Webb 509, and Black Manta 1989. Really appreciate your support month over month, guys. And final shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps on a weekly basis for the podcast, usually gets them out within 24 to 36 hours. So I always see people, asking for the timestamps when the podcast ends. Hopefully you're hearing this. Just know that if you absolutely need the timestamps to watch the content, just give it a day or two, come back to the podcast. They will be there. I don't even bother doing them at this point, and I won't even try because Devil Shooter does such a great job. So shout out to Devil Shooter. If you see him in the comments, give him a big thank you. But that does it, guys. That's episode 133 done. I will catch you all throughout the week with new content, and I will let you guys know. I'll at least put a community post out when I am planning on streaming God of War Ragnarok. So, all right, guys, that's it. Ragnarok week. Looking forward to it on Wednesday, and I'll keep the content flowing. So, till next time, guys, take care.